Don-O-Mite!
So Dynamite.
This is awesome! This is this, this is that, this is this! Hey everybody, have a great time!
I'm not one of these f***ing goof podcasters out there. I am Don Tony, Wednesday Don-O-Mite! Hey, what's going on, everybody? It is Wednesday night, May 20th, 2020. I am back as always, Wednesday night Dynamite. Trying to get in a good mood. You know, we had a decent night of wrestling, I would say. I am Don Tony as always. I want to thank you all for tuning in. Whether you are checking out the show live on YouTube or if you are checking out the archive, the download. Oh boy, man, what a rough 24 hours. Seriously, really a rough 48 hours. I mean, Shad Gaspard talked about it on Monday, got into detail. There's really not much to add. You know, if you checked out the show on Monday, you know, with all due respect to a lot of people out there, people treating it almost like an episode of Gilligan's Island. He's lost at sea. I don't know, man. I don't know if anybody else just like saw like stuff written like that. And I'm like, lost at sea. I mean, what do you think? He just drifted on a fucking skiff and just went into blah, 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 blah island? You know, and then you had others that, you know, you thought it was an episode of Keto, whatever that show is. Keto. Yeah, sharks on a keto diet. Sharkpedo. You look at the rough waters, you look at what happens with a riptide, you look at the water temperatures, you look at the fact that people immediately went in the water to try to save him. It was broad daylight out there. It really quickly turned into a recovery mission. Sharknado. Yes, Sharknado. I've never seen it. Sharknado, potato. Sharknado. Yeah. It's rough, man. It sucks. You know, Shad Gaspard, 39 years old. His body washed to shore early this morning. And look, the guy was a hero. He put his life, aside so his son could be saved. And the waters just took him. There is, for anybody that out there would be interested, there's a tribute shirt that is on sale right now at Collar and Elbow. I'm sure some of you have heard of that site. I've actually purchased 2 shirts from there before. All of the proceeds, not the profits, the proceeds are going to go to Shad Gaspard's family. I already picked up one. Hopefully I get it by early next week so I could wear it proud as like a final little tribute to Shad Gaspard. I hope every podcaster out there that really did appreciate Shad's career, maybe you dip into your pocket, buy a shirt. And I think all of us in the podcast community, we should all take a picture of us wearing that shirt just to pay tribute. Because, man, it's not like somebody who died in their 50s, 60s, and 70s. It's not someone who died because of their own misgivings or misbehavior. This man was a fucking hero. And I already see a lot of people online saying that he should get the Warrior Award. Absolutely. Unfortunately, though, I don't know if WWE would go to that point. We've talked about it in the past, and tonight's show is not really WWE content unless we talk about NXT. I will talk a little bit about last night's Dark Side of the Ring, which I know a lot of you out there are, drooling, wondering, why am I calling Martha, a certain nickname now? I hope you hear me out before you get triggered or get upset by it, because I honestly and truthfully believe from the bottom of my heart, what I say, I think almost everybody out there is going to agree with me on this. But, Shad Gaspard, there's a lot of people who tweet themselves into looking like heroes, this guy was a fucking hero. We didn't need what happened Sunday to prove that he was a hero. He was a hero already for his kid, his wife, all of his friends, family. He stopped an armed robbery several years ago. This isn't the first time I talked about Shad Gaspard. In fact, I mentioned it on Monday. Anybody that tuned into this past Friday's episode of the Don Tony Show, when I talked about the Leo Rush, Mark Henry situation, what did I say on this show Friday? That Shad Gaspard, was the one to come to Leo Rush, where everybody else is accusing Leo Rush of tweet fucking to get attention when he said he might never come back to wrestling. Shad Gaspard went on his Twitter and said, keep your head up, man. Everybody goes through phases like this. Stay strong. My heart goes out to the family, friends, and fans of Shad Gaspard. May he truly rest in peace. He is back home with his family. I know this is going to sound kind of fucked up, but I think many of you out there may actually agree with me on this. If this man was supposed to be taken from this earth in 2020, it was probably best that it happened now and not a week ago, 2 weeks ago, a month ago, because of this COVID-19 and all this pandemic bullshit out there. How many of you know people who lost loved ones because of the coronavirus? They couldn't even have a funeral for their fallen. Couldn't even go to the cemetery to see their loved one get buried. I have 2 friends of mine. I have 3 customers in my business that died because of COVID-19. And the one thing that I heard over and over and over again, I have my eyes closed because I'm just picturing their faces, the biggest anger that they had was not just the coronavirus, was the fact that they couldn't give a last goodbye to their family, even in the hospital. Couldn't FaceTiming, live streaming? Could you just imagine what that? It's just that's terrible. So hopefully this man could get a funeral, a burial, where his friends and family can pay their last respects. So definitely a hero, man. Definitely deserves all the love and praise that he's receiving. Talked about it 2-3 months ago. Discussion was, could we see crime time in AEW or WWE? We talked about the stereotypes, and I don't care trips about death counts, whether it's accurate or not. All I know is that the people that lost loved ones, that was real, man. That was real. So, I wanted to open up with that. Definitely wanted to just give a little thoughts. It sucks on Monday. If you notice on Monday, did not write anywhere, rest in peace, because until you have the official word, you don't jump the gun like that, even though I think we all knew, what the outcome was. And just terrible, man, just terrible. Much love to that man and everybody. And the clip I played Monday when Kofi won the championship, just go back and listen to the recap of what I did. I debated people for that week that all of the wrestlers, that real emotion, that was real, man. And I didn't see that MVP Shad Gaspard footage after he went missing. Talked about it a couple of nights later or a week later when the footage came out. So anyway, let's get on to current wrestling news. We got a lot of stuff to talk about today. Going to talk about AEW tonight. Dynamite, just this visual of Sammy Guevara and Matt Hardy. I got news for you, man. I said this a couple of months ago. Sammy Guevara reminds me sometimes of Tony Mamaluke, and just like the way he sells the DDT beautifully. Some of the stuff he does great. Now, unfortunately, though, which blows my mind, we had AEW Double Dark that took place earlier this week. And if you've been following my shows, One thing that I have said over and over again, and you know that I am a fan of AEW, NXT. I've become a fan of MLW and other promotions. But the one thing that I give AEW the most credit about with the empty arenas right now is the people who are there around ringside, they come off like they want to be there. The people in the ring, they come off like they want to be there. There's energy, just simulating fans and, heels being assholes around ringside. They are just knocking it out of the park. They truly took chicken shit and turned it into chicken salad. And I love the fact that the building is open. Something that nobody even talks about, how the air is circulating. So even if there was a virus in the air, it blew out to the parking lot. That's one thing I give them all the credit for. One thing I will knock them for, and I still feel this way, and I felt this way for months and months and months and months and months. And that is, it feels like nobody in the back has the balls to criticize someone about their match being Shangada, editing pre-recorded things out because it looks just overly shoddy. And it just gives, and I don't know this to be 100% fact, but the impression I get is that nobody in the back, dares hurt anybody's feelings. Like, instead it's inspirational. Oh, keep at it. No, man, did you see that match on AEW Dark? Alan Angels and Sammy Guevara. I mean, this guy, Alan Angels, I have nothing against him personally. He has plenty of time to improve. So please, I'm not spelling his career demise. When this guy writes on social media earlier this week about his upcoming match that we're going to see on AEW Dark, sometimes when I do a show that's kind of shitty, or I kind of feel like it was just off, I'm maybe even embarrassed for people that tune in, you'll see me quietly not mention it on social media, kind of distance myself, just try not to put attention to it. When I think that I got some good shit, I'll bring it up over and over again. Some people get triggered over it. I bring people's attention to it, some conversations that are spot on. And yes, I am lazy also. I wanted for the last 2 or 3 weeks that I have been saying to everybody out there, could you picture if Kushida, Jake Atlas, and Drake Maverick all end up 2-1 and they have a 3-way, and then maybe in the end Jake Atlas screws Drake Maverick and that just turns Jake Atlas even more into a heel? So far every aspect of it has happened. But I'm too lazy to pull clips like that. And we'll get to that match a little bit later on because that is going to take place next week. But, Alan Angels is writing on social media for everybody to check out his match with Sammy Guevara. You know what that reminded me of after I watched it on Dark? I'm sorry, Alan Angels, whatever the fuck your name is. As you can see, I'm looking right at all of you in the camera. I ain't pulling notes. It's not worth it. You know what it reminds me of? Unfortunately, I don't have magic marker over here right now. But you picture like a little kid, that says, Mommy, Daddy, I drew a picture of all of us. And you look at it and it looks like somebody just scribbled everywhere. And the parents are looking at it and like, oh, that's wonderful, son. That's wonderful, Jonathan. That's wonderful, Alan. Wow, that's great. Put it on the refrigerator. And as soon as the kid leaves the room, the fuck is wrong with our son? Does he have some type of fucking nerve issue? Has he got some Michael J. Fox syndrome? What the fuck is this? It's scribble. The kid is, now, because it's a kid, you kind of let it go because the kid is proud. You see on social media, you see 10-year-olds, hey, Chris Jericho, look what I drew you. And you look at it and it's like a stick face. But Jericho, a class act, likes it, gives the kid a compliment. That's what Alan Angels reminded me of this week. Hey, everybody, make sure you check my match on AEW Dark. Go watch that match. That guy should have been like an ostrich and dug his head in a hole and buried it in there. And he should have said, please, God, please, God, please, God, delete the match. Please, AEW. You could lie to my face and say, somehow we accidentally deleted it. My God. Con! So, but anyway, I'll get into some super chats in a few moments. By the way, thank you, as always, for the support. Oh, you know what? This gentleman I have to shout out, man. Afedenaman Zu. Thank you very much, my friend. Tuning in live right now from Germany. I thank you for tuning in, and I'm not pandering, you know. If you enjoy what I do, that's why I do it. You know, I don't do it as an excuse, you know, to just do shows. I mean, I try to do this. I know I'm never going to be the most popular podcaster out there. I know a lot of people out there will think that yours truly is just an asshole. A lot of people out there don't have this set of kahunas to say some of the things they want to say. They talk out of both sides of their mouth. They'll tweet, and like a tough motherfucker on Twitter, they'll tweet all these funny, catchy shit. And then when they're confronted, you know, then all of a sudden, you know, this side of the mouth starts tweeting and talking. So, you know, I appreciate your support, my friend. And out of curiosity, what time is it in Germany right now? You don't have to super chat that. Just let me know. I want to know what time it is in Germany. Because I got to be honest with you, man. And I will admit this. You know, not even porn can keep me up to like 3, 4, 5 in the morning anymore. Very, very rare. Like if I went out to a club and I didn't, you know, pick up or anything like that, and you come home and you're by yourself, you know, I kind of wish that the internet was around in the mid 80s, late 80s, early 90s, man. I mean, I probably would be about 50 pounds lighter right now. No bullshit. Because there were many times that I'd go home from the club and I struck out, you know, because I was always a shy person, never really catch the rap with many people. So what I would do after the club is I'd go to the diner, get a double bacon cheeseburger deluxe. This is true. I'm revealing something, and people are going to say to me, wow, you are an asshole dummy. You're not an asshole, but you are stupid. My thinking back then when I was in my early to mid-20s is after the club, I go to the diner, get a double bacon cheeseburger deluxe. I always lied to the waiter and the waitress and said, yeah, me and my girlfriend are going to eat tonight. But meanwhile, I always ordered twice as much because I was hungry. And I would eat like a pig when I came home 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And then right after that, I would eat half a box of chocolate X-Lax because I always thought that if I ate crazy X-Lax, and you all know, a lot of you know the story about 6-year-old Mario, you know, with the X-Lax back, you know, in the day. But I always thought that, hey, if I eat a half a box of X-Lax right after I eat 5,000 calories, like, you know, it's like the dams in Michigan right now. It's like there's nothing that's going to stop that fat from being absorbed. It's like in and out, 2 seconds. And that's what I used to do. So, you know, how we even got on this, I don't know. But the point is, it's 4:22 a.m. right now in Germany. And mystery man Ryan, 3:22 in England. Awesome, man, awesome. But even back in the day, the only reason why I would be up after a club is to eat. You know, if there was the internet back then and Porn XX, XS, and Motherless, or whatever these channels are, some of them, I would have been watching porn. I would have been like, you know, thinking of the bitch that fucking wouldn't talk to me in the club. You know, you see what I'm doing at 3 o'clock in the morning, honey. I probably wouldn't even eat the cheeseburgers. I would have been online just checking out, you know, naked females and then go to bed. Anyway, even though trying to boost my spirits up a little bit. But I tell you, overall, AEW tonight, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it more this week than last week. I'm a little curious as far as what the ratings are going to be like tomorrow. My immediate instinct as far as the ratings this week, I think they're going to be very similar to last week. Now, last week, you know, I come off a week where I was within 1,000 viewers of the AEW rating and like 20,000 of NXT. Last week, I predicted 677. Originally, I said 664. And I said I was a little too low. I said, let's go up to 677. It ended up being 654, which to me is a little disappointing last week for AEW. Last week I said NXT would do 639, and it only did 604. Now, only about 5% at most of fans that watch wrestling on Monday night watch both shows at the same time. And even when they watch both shows at the same time, unless they have 2 different TVs going, which is almost impossible because how are you going to watch? How many of you out there have two different televisions in the same room? You may have a tablet and a TV, or you may have a computer screen and a TV, or you may have your cell phone and a TV. But the reason why I say that is you think of Nielsen ratings. The Nielsen ratings, I don't think there's anybody registering at all for two different Nielsen ratings for the same two shows, because even if you're registered with Nielsen, if you have one box playing this and then in the other room you're playing this, I don't even think it would register both. The reason why I say that is that when you add 654 and you add 604 last week, that's 1,258,000 viewers. That's not terrible. I know a lot of you out there, oh my God, that's terrible. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, almost 1.3 million fans watched wrestling on Wednesday night last week. You see Raw gets only 1.8 million, 1.7, blah, 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 blah. That's not that far off, So 1.3 million fans on Wednesday night between two shows is not as bad as people like to make it out to be. And I get a kick. I wanted to have some fun on Monday, but we just ran out of time. But I get a kick out of people out there that are just absolutely ripping apart Brody Lee and AEW. And I wanted to have a friendly, fun debate with my co-host on Monday because he thinks Brody Lee and AEW is an absolute bust so far. My thoughts on it is, number one, he is yet to perform in front of a live crowd. Number two, we're in the middle of a pandemic, so everything is all shot to shit in a lot of ways. Number three, I don't know what you base that on. If you're not a fan, and this goes out to everybody out there, if you're not a fan of Brody Lee and AEW, if you think someone else in AEW is falling absolutely flat, if you think Matt Hardy is not working out in AEW, that's fine. You have a right to your opinion. But when you go to the extra mile and say, fans are just not into him, he's not drawing ratings, he sucks, he's this, he's that, but then you gush over the Undisputed Era. You gush over, limitless, no limits, limitless. When you gush over Karrion Kross, when you gush over Io Shirai, when you gush over all these other people, and their fucking ratings are worse than AEW, I really don't think you have a leg to stand on, in my opinion. So, and I want to just have a friendly day because honestly, I really want to know someone who feels that passionate in a negative way towards Brody Lee. I want to know why they feel that way. And if you're just going to base it on numbers and you don't like it, well, it's like the tweet I said earlier today. A lot of people out there only want to tweet about AEW and WWE content. They never tweet about NWA. How many of you checked out Carneyland? I'll talk about that later. Impact Wrestling, MLW, Shimmer. There's so many promotions. Stardom. We got, other fans out there, and they never talk about it. Why? Because they may only get 2 likes out of it. There's a lot more wrestling out there. So if this sucks so bad, and this sucks so bad, and this is lackluster, well, then maybe you start trying some other things out there. The Dark Order, though, Benjamin, I agree with you, man. The Dark Order, and you know what? I know I'm going a little out of place tonight, but it's definitely worth mentioning. When you have Moxley put the chair under the arm of 10, I feel like you got Sean Spears there and you do a gimmick 10. It's funny, like watching Sean Spears. Who the fuck would name a wrestler 10? And then this guy shows up. I mean, excuse me, it's Roman numeral 10. It's not even Roman numeral 10. Roman numeral 10 would be an X. It's just, what is that? When they go like this, you play like tic-tac-toe or something. You get. Anyway, my point is, this reminds me of Nakazawa with Pac and Omega when AEW first happened on TV. You remember all of that? And I showed love to Nakazawa. They did the one thing on TV with the oil and the underwear, and then they didn't do it again. But even before that, when Pac is on the screen, and this is with live crowds there, Pac is on the screen, and he's going to Omega. Kenny, look what I've got here. Kenny, Kenny, no Claymore for you, Kenny. And he's got Michael Nakazawa kidnapped. They never fucking gave us a reason. They never built this character in AEW. What did fucking Khan? What did you think? That every AEW fan, holy shit, that's Michael Nakazawa from New Japan, or see, this promote. Oh my God, what did you do to him? No, we were like, the fuck is this guy? Kill him. Same thing with 10. Oh, it's cool. You know, he's been trying to get a job in wrestling or breakthrough and this and that. And 10 gets a job with AEW and he's got a great physique and he's actually not that bad in the ring. And then they put him in the ring tonight against Moxley and he puts the chair under his arm. And Moxley's like, I'm going to break it unless you come out and give me my title. And Brody Lee is like, I'm going to leave. You know, sometimes you got to sacrifice people. Khan, seriously, bro. Nobody fucking gives a shit about 10 yet. You know, who cares if Moxley breaks his arm? Fucking kill him. Fucking cough in his face for all I care. 10, knock his out. Build up the fucking characters first. Then you do stuff like that. Who the fuck would have cared about that segment? Khan! Some people don't even know why I do that. So I was a fan of the original Star Trek series. Loved it. I have the box set inside. But I will even admit that the Wrath of Khan, I don't know. Whenever I think of that movie, I just think of William Shatner's curly hair in that movie. That was right around T.J. Hooker time, if I remember. Khan. Yeah, look, I'm a big fan of AEW. But I'm not going to sit here and gush and talk on this side of the mouth. And then talk on this side of the mouth because, I talk like a tough guy. No, I'm afraid about getting lashback of people shitting on me. So let me talk on this side of the mouth. And then, I kind of like cover it up. And then, I get both sides. What are you, bisexual with your tweets? You like both peanuts and plain? No, take one stand and that's it. That's why when I talk about Dark Side of the Ring, we had Howard Finkel. When Howard Finkel used to always announce Bret Hart, he would never say the. He would say Bret Hitman Hart. Bret was the Hitman. To me, my Howard Finkel voice, which is horrible, Martha, hit job Hart. Hit job last night. That's what it was. I told you Monday that was going to happen. And don't misconstrue. And I guess I could bring this up now. Let's get it out of the way because it's only got 300,000 viewers. I know the wrestling world, the outspoken social media wants to talk about and this and that. You wanted any proof of Dark Side of the Ring trying to rewrite history. And they got to be careful. They got to be really careful because it's very unfair. And I know a lot of you out there don't like Vince Russo. But when you put the way I said Monday, you really boost up your memories, bring back the memories of how much you loved Owen Hart and why you cried when you heard he died. And just how wonderful of a man this was with the ribs and his family. And just truly, we've shown all the love for Shad Gaspard. I don't like comparing love with different people, but multiply that by 1,000 and that probably doesn't even equal what Owen Hart was to the world. And then, when you got people at that vulnerable with their emotions, where people are crying, tearing up, then you do the hit job. And, you got people wanting to fucking torch Vince McMahon's house right now. You got people out there that naively are blaming Vince Russo for this to the point that they're contacting Vince Russo's personal family and trying to make them pay the sins that they insist that Vince Russo created on this. All right. There is, what's that website? You guys can help me with this. What's that one website that does all those top 10s? Like, 10 things you didn't know about this or 10 things you learned about this. I can't remember the website name. They did one yesterday for 10 things we learned about Owen Hart, Dark Side of the Ring. And I don't think it's Sportster. It's, What Culture. I think it's What Culture. Was What Culture. Yesterday, 10 things we learned from Dark Side of the Ring, Owen Hart. Now, I told everybody on Monday I wasn't going to watch this. And the reason why I wasn't going to watch this is because I don't mind, and I've said this many times already, you guys know this already, I don't mind watching repetitive documentaries about people that I was intrigued with, liked, disliked, curious about, fascinated with over the years. I used the John Gotti one as an example, all right? I'm not in love with the guy. I was more intrigued about some of the things he did because I had met him personally a couple of times, could never envision this turning into this. But, you watch 10, 15 different documentaries and everything, brings a little something to the table. Sometimes there's ulterior motives. And in the case of some of these dark side of the rings, I brought up Bart Gunn as a great example. I remember Bart Gunn's career leading up to Brawl for All. I remember Bart Gunn's career after that. And when they tried to rewrite history, that Bart was pretty much, his career was banished because of Brawl for It All. And it's like, no, and then you understand that why some people are always absent from these things, because they understand that these are mostly hit jobs. There are three sides to every story. There's one side, there's the other side, and somewhere in the middle is the truth. And, the snooker thing, some people are trying to tweet fuck off the snooker thing, bringing up, oh, did you know 5 months before? And I brought it to all your attention. I covered it in detail on season 2 of This Week in Wrestling History. All right. So I go on this What Culture site, and I'm just like, hey, maybe there's a lot of things that were revealed yesterday that we didn't know before. And you know what? I'll check it out. I keep an open mind. But my feeling going into this is what I said on Monday's show. My feeling going into it is that Martha Hart did not like wrestling when Owen was alive. Owen Hart, when Jericho said yesterday that if Owen would have remained alive, he would have had a whole bunch of new people to feud with because, WCW business a couple of years later, and you had Jericho and this Benoit, you had Perry Saturn, Dean Malenko, the Radicals come over and this and that. And I always felt at the time that, Owen Hart's career was going more towards part-time. And I always had the feeling that he would ultimately retire young and be with his family. Yesterday when I watched some of it, it came off exactly that. Martha Hart did not like wrestling when Owen was alive. When this happened, all right, she hates WWE, WWF with a passion. She hates it, can't stand them, and I totally respect that. I can't feel it. I don't know what it feels like, all right? The only way I could try to compare it to things I've seen on TV is when someone commits murder, and then that person is in jail waiting for their fate as far as if they're going to, have life in prison or if they're going to die in the electric chair. And then sometimes, how many times have you seen this on Forensic Files, where someone, or even at other series, that death row stories, someone is on death row and they're accused of killing someone, and a family member of the person that they killed goes in front of the court and says, I feel if we put that person to death, that we're no better than that person. So they rather go with life in prison. Not everybody, and some people out there forgive what killers have done to people's families. And me personally, and here's where I go in the same category with Martha Hart. I always wondered if someone did something tragic to my mom, my dad especially, those two, that I always envision, what would I do? Because the conversation comes up with your friends as you're growing up. You see things on the news, how would you react? And me, in a perfect world, and I still feel this way at my age now, in a perfect world, if anybody out there ever did my mom and my dad dirty, tragically, killed them, for whatever reason, accident, no accident, with negligence, I would do everything possible to get that person out of jail. I would go to every meeting where they're up for possible parole or this and that. And that Shawshank Redemption where he kept getting turned down for parole, and then finally, because he always said, oh yeah, I'm a changed man. And then they would reject him. Then towards the end, he's like, redeemed, cured, and then went on this rant and he got released. I would do everything possible, say, look, the person was young, this and that, you got to let him go. And the minute that person goes on parole, I fucking run him over with my car. I fucking tie his nuts to the exhaust pipe of my car and fucking just floor it. I did like a bad fucking cartoon with a rope on the. I would take that person and probably tie both his arms, tie one arm against the tree, and tie the other arm to my car and hit the gas and just watch him fucking like a bad cartoon. That's what I would do. So I understand why Martha Hart will always have this bitter hatred for WWE. And I expected nothing different yesterday. She is the surviving spouse. She obviously has a lot of pull because she is this, I'm trying to think of the perfect word, next of kin for Owen Hart. So even if Owen's parents were still alive, God rest Stu and Helen, Brett or anyone else, really Martha has the say. Now, we all would love to have one time to celebrate Owen Hart in the Hall of Fame because we're wrestling fans. We appreciated him. Nobody wanted him taken this soon. We all cared for the guy, even though we didn't know him personally. She will never let that happen. And all of that I respect. Reason why I said Monday hit job, and the reason why I say now Martha hit job Hart, is because of what was not discussed yesterday. And I'll be quick about this because I don't want to spend the whole show on it. I'll spend 5 more minutes and we'll move on. When I went on this What Culture to look at the top 10 things that we learned about Owen Hart yesterday, all right, this is the list they came up with. Footage of his real goal was painful. It was painful to watch that, you want to get out of wrestling and, hopefully the pain is all worth it in the end of this and that. Everybody knew this pretty much already, that he wanted to be home with his family. All right. That's nothing new. All right. Owen never questioned his safety. Everybody knew that also. From the lawsuits and all the interviews for the last 21 fucking years, we knew that already. All right. The next one, what Owen told his son at the airport. All right. Owen apparently was going to the airport to pick up or see his mom. His mom was coming in and he was leaving. So his 6 or 7-year-old son at the time went with him to the airport. So when it was time for Owen to catch his flight, he said to his son, look over mom and grandma. It's not where he predicted his demise. That's something take care of your mother while I'm gone. Going on a business trip, take care of your mom. So, but still, it's a touchy moment. But that's not things we learned about Owen Hart. All right? Number 6 on this list. Number 7, Martha thought Owen was ribbing her. Yeah, if someone called up and said, I'm Vince McMahon, and Owen Hart always ribbed people claiming to be others, common knowledge, Why would she think that there was a terrible accident? So she thought Owen was ripping her. I'm not trying to be cold here, but I'm trying to lead to a point here. Everything that's on this list is just common sense stuff, except for one. Let me continue. At the funeral, Martha Hart tried to run away from Owen's body. She started walking up to the casket and got very upset. She just lost her husband tragically, and she ran the other way, and Brett calmed her down. That's human emotion. Something we learned yesterday, something you learn in real fucking life. All right? The family visited the Kemper Arena. There's multiple reasons for that, and take way too long over here, but that's something, that people already knew. Many people already knew. All right? I'll skip the one where I think it's important and is very interesting. The story never gets any easier. That's number 2 on their list. No fucking shit. Especially when you do it the way you did it yesterday. And number 1, Owen will never be in the WWE Hall of Fame. That's because of Martha. So far, 9 of this 10 is just, to me, clickbait. The one that they do get into, the grim legal aftermath. And I start reading it, and guess what the first fucking sentence is? The documentary does not go into too much detail on any settlements between Martha Hart and the WWE. All right? Just think about it. The documentary really doesn't go in. There's a reason behind that. I'm not going to get into every little detail here, but I invite all of you out there to go search. There's a lot of websites that like to post cases, lawsuits, criminal, wrongful death suits, this and that. And the Owen Hart case is available online if you want to go check it out. I invite everybody out there to go focus on 2003, okay? This is very important, and you'll understand why I say what I said at the beginning. January 2003, WWE tried to sue Lumar Incorporated, which was the UK manufacturer of the Shackle clip, whose premature release led to the accidental death of Owen Hart. That happened in January 2003, okay? We go one step back. In November of 2000, oh, and by the way, I think Meltzer interviewed Martha today, and Martha revealed that WWF didn't, they claimed that they paid for Owen's funeral or offered to do it, but didn't. It's because Martha Hart didn't want fucking WWF's money in any way, shape, or form. Didn't want their fingerprints on anything. That seemed to have been left out in the interview today. And look, when I get to my point, this is not in any way, shape, or form trying to bury Martha Hart, because her emotions, I actually expect from her, and there's nothing wrong with it. But here's something very, very important. In November of 2000, WWE announced an $18 million settlement with Martha Hart, okay? Almost immediately after that, WWF tried to challenge the validity of the Lumar release. What you all don't know, okay? Think about this for a minute. Remember when Martha said in the documentary that it's not about money, she just wanted answers? Well, what was conveniently left out, which was a big fucking deal, which is why you should research 2003, is that it was learned later on when this first happened. The Harts, they sued the state, they sued Lumar Incorporated, they sued WWF, they sued Kemper Arena, they tried to sue everybody. That's what happens with accidents and lawsuits. You sue everybody. Somebody gets into a car accident, somebody has a trip and fall, they sue the city, they sue the business that was in front of the sidewalk, they'll sue everybody and their mother. It's totally understandable. When you hear this controversy that WWF wanted the case moved to another state, that is because in Missouri, all right, so people understand this, in Missouri, one defendant cannot sue the other defendant. All right, or I should, yeah, you cannot sue each other. So basically, WWE wanted to change this because they wanted to go over Lumar Incorporated. Do you know why? And here's where it gets to the really most important thing. Look up the judge by the name of the Honorable Douglas Long, the Missouri Supreme Court. What happened was, for some reason, Martha Hart released Lumar Incorporated of any wrongdoing. Released them. Dropped them from the lawsuit. They're the ones that you manufactured the clip. What happened was WWF in 2003 tried to sue Lumar, and the reason why they tried to sue Lumar is because they felt, and I'm reading it right here, and I'll get into a couple of sentences. It's very important. They wanted to recover some of that $18 million. All right, Lumar at the time had a $50 million insurance policy. Lumar, $50 million policy. Yet Martha Hart releases them from the lawsuit. All right, so Lumar's liability for this accident, okay, basically the order contains some of the strongest judicial statements that I've seen in 22 years of practice about a case. From the onset was tainted by irregularities, said WWE's lawyer at the time. Basically, they discovered that the plaintiff, Martha Hart, and her counsel had entered into a written agreement to share the proceeds of any recovery with fact witnesses in the case. And then it goes on to say that when testimony was taken from Lumar representatives in England, no attempt was made by Martha Hart's counsel to establish the factual basis for Lumar's responsibility. When WWF attempted to do so, Martha Hart's counsel actually objected to WWF's questions proving Lumar's liability in this. As soon as the deposition was over, Martha Hart and her counsel announced that they had released Lumar from the case with no money, even though Lumar had offered to pay Martha Hart and the family. So what happens is, in January 2003, WWE announces they're going after Lumar to try to recover some of the $18 million they paid Martha Hart. So now it goes into September. And now the judge has to decide if some of the testimony, some of the information can be released in court. October of 2003, Lumar pays WWE $9 million, one half of the lawsuit where WWE paid Martha Hart back in 1999 or 2000. All right. Lumar, which made the harness that prematurely released, causing Owen Hart to fall, said that they had no wrongdoing in the case. Their decision to settle was made by their insurers, the insurance company, based on their own commercial considerations. But the attorney representing WWE, Craig O'Dear, said the settlement spoke for itself. Their position from day one was that the complete story concerning why and how Owen Hart died was never told. They presented 3.5 weeks of evidence before the settlement. There was a gag order, too. A lot of people don't know that, too. WWE presented 3.5 weeks worth of evidence in the court and to show that that there was problems previously existed in Lumar with the shackle. I don't know if you heard about stunt people that were using this to manipulate in different ways. Basically, Lumar knew that there was issues with the shackle and didn't say anything. WWE didn't know either. So once this went into court and WWE started explaining into court that Lumar knew these things and there was a lot of information about Owen Hart's fall that was never brought up in court, as soon as the judge allowed this testimony to be included, Lumar settled immediately. Immediately settled. That's what happened. They reached the settlement. As soon as that testimony was put in court and that judge allowed some of that testimony to remain, they sued. So now I ask you this. Go back, and I'm not going to spend any more time on this. Go back and learn, if you're really curious about this and you're really curious for the right reasons, go back and learn all of the negligence of Lumar from the 90s and all the accusations and as far as stunt people manipulating this and shackles and this and that. And then you ask yourself, Lumar had a $50 million policy and offered a settlement to Martha Hart. And yet, once this started going out in court and WWE started questioning Lumar during Martha Hart's lawsuit, Martha Hart releases Lumar from the case. They're no longer a defendant in the case. So their testimony is out. There's so much information that was so critical in this. And you see how this was all conveniently. Do I defend WWE in this? No. They were grossly negligent. They didn't know. They were careless. They didn't have the right professionals handling this. That shackles for sailboats, she's absolutely right. Martha Hart has every right to hate WWF for the rest of her life. She has every right to want answers. All right, but when you start learning all these things about why would you eliminate the company that manufactured the very bracket that you're holding in your hand, and that whole entire lawsuit was not discussed yesterday. All of those details were not brought up. All right, I could go further. I could start getting into specific testimony here where they actually accuse fraud between Martha and Lumar. There was so much shit that came out from this lawsuit. You start asking yourself these questions, and there's some people out there, I hate using this example. This is the only way we could wrap this up with kind of using a current event. The Velveteen Dream situation. All right? I take pride that from day one, I smelled something that did not pass the smell test for me. Why? Because I wasn't interested in getting 500 likes saying Velveteen Dream had his head chopped off, more than one head chopped off. Every fucking someone with outrage would have loved it. No, I started taking all of the claims and started looking at them separately, and I'm like, wait, this person doesn't know this person, and this person doesn't know this person, but all three just conveniently happen to be here at this time and this time and this time. And then you got this, and then you got that, and they put video active shots of everything else except for what they're being alleged, and this and that. And then the best part, and this is where I put the correlation. When that one girl went online and said, we don't know if Velveteen Dream got hacked or if that was really him. We want the answers. A couple of hours later, Velveteen Dream goes public and says, that wasn't me. I would never do something like that. Wrong answer. They refused to accept that as a reason. So, in my opinion, Martha Hart, for 21 years, has this bitter hatred because a company put money and entertainment in front of risk. She has every right to feel that way. I am not ripping her for that. But when you see conveniently this is left out, why would she drop Lumar? Why wasn't this brought up? Why was this turned a certain way? Why was this? Why was this? And it felt like for 20 years, Martha Hart has done interviews and she's expressed her, anger towards WWF. But she never had a company that was going to put this much time, energy, and I'm not just talking a book or a podcast interview. Dark Side of the Ring is willing to go this extra mile and tell it in the eyes of Martha Hart. She told the story exactly the way she wanted to tell the story. And to me, it was the final chance to say, Vince, fuck you. Fuck you, your family. I lost my best friend. I will never forgive you for it. You all could rot in hell. And everybody, when they're writing this and preparing it and producing it and putting the music on here, everybody makes, and I'm not defending Vince because I'll say something else right now that completely criticizes them. When everybody jokes and Vince goes, that's such good shit. You see some of the stuff that was done yesterday and the way they do the music and this and that. You know that social media is going to fucking go with baseball bats, figuratively, not literally, to Vince's fucking house. Want to bash his head with they want to make him fall from 100 feet. You don't think people at Dark Side of the Ring, that's such good shit. No, it felt like a hit job yesterday. I had people saying to me today, I wish there was a part 2. So you want 2 hours of, an incomplete story? I fucking miss Owen Hart. I fucking enjoyed him. It was tragic. I was doing a wrestling hotline at the time and I cried. In retrospect, I don't think that show should have continued. It's not as cut and dry. You can't just say, the show's over, we had a terrible accident, this and that. Everybody saw the fucking Blue Blazer fall from the rafters into the ring and they had paramedics in the ring. They didn't want everybody to leave that arena in a frenzy, in a panic, flipping out and this and that. I don't justify it. I don't agree with it, but it's not as simple as cut and dry. Oh, show's over. It's not that way. Now, Kevin Dunn telling JR, he didn't make it. You're live in 987. That's fucked up. All right. A lot of it is fucked up. I don't know if it's because of the Sting skits at the time and they want to, remember Shawn Michaels, WrestleMania? Oh yeah, I sound like Otis. Going down that thing. did anybody ever like examine what clip they use for that? You know, so it wasn't the first time that WWF has used, you know, stunts like that. All right. But this was negligence on their part. They definitely deserve to be sued. They definitely should have lost. You know, but when you hear things like, oh, Vince and WWF tried to move it to this state, you know, because of this, because they couldn't sue this, because there's insurance companies involved. There's insurance companies involved. So it's not as cut and dry. That's why I felt, when I say hit job, Martha, hit job, Hart, instead of Hitman, I don't blame her. As you heard in the beginning of what I said, if somebody killed my parents tragically, even if it was negligent, drunk behind the wheel, they didn't mean to do it. They were just careless, drunk. I think I would do everything possible to get that person out of jail, even if they served some jail time. I would just mark it down on the calendar. And the minute they got out of jail and they thought that I was supporting them for the last 5 or 10 years, saying, look, you know, people make mistakes, you learn from it. I don't think, you know, why should another person's life get ruined simply this, you know, blah, 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 blah. As soon as that person gets out of jail, I'll fucking break a liquor bottle over that motherfucker's head. I don't believe in, you know, oh, I have to turn the other cheek. No, when it comes to my parents, I know that's how it would feel. So I don't blame Martha for all of this. But you got to be really careful with social media in 2020. You got to be really careful because like I said, you know, Vince Russo, yeah, people don't like a lot of his storylines he did and this and that. But you see what's going on tonight? And you see fucking people taking it out on his family, accusing him of this and that. There are some very reckless people out there, you know, and you want to celebrate the life of Owen Hart, fucking do a documentary celebrating the life of Owen Hart. Home videos, stories, ribs, this and that. You know, those are the YouTube videos that I went to. You remember This Week in Wrestling History? Look up the episode, the anniversary of Owen Hart's passing. Look up season 2 that I did. I played about 15 minutes of clips of wrestlers telling rib stories. That was a year ago. All right. And when I played that, I played it because it put a smile on my fucking face. Did yesterday feel like an episode that was supposed to put smiles on people's faces? It felt like you put a smile on people's face and then you rip that smile away and you fucking, she wants WWF to suffer. Now she's got tons of people on social media that are getting behind this. That's why I call it a hit job. And I don't give a shit, Luna, if you're yawning and stretching. Go fucking check out another show out there. I'm sorry if I actually do research. I'm sorry if Monday I actually got into the water temperature and why Shad Gaspard wouldn't have survived more than 2 to 7 hours. I'm sorry if I should have just said, he's lost at sea, praying that he is back home safely and sound. No, I fucking look at everything. And to me, last night felt like a hit job. That's what it felt like to me. I know you're not bored, Luna. I just, you know, trying to change a little. So everybody, I'm sorry if I went about 20 minutes with this. But again, the pain that the wrestlers expressed yesterday, Cornette, Jim Ross, others, that pain is real. There's a lot of people in wrestling that will never forgive WWF for that carelessness. Martha Hart will never forgive WWF for that carelessness. WWF definitely was negligent. You know, she'll never forgive them. Fine. But you don't need to do a piece like this where you leave some very important points out of that, and then you have another swarm, an army that, you know, off with Vince's head. I just think that that is wrong. I mean, you know, Brett forgave Vince. I don't think anybody there intended on anybody to die. It was reckless, careless, negligent. No question. Kevin Dunn, honestly, if that was me, I don't know if I would have gotten physical, but I would have been like, you know, you're a dick, you know. But, you know, it is what it is. But man, there's some, when you do that and you leave all of those pieces of information and you blame it on WWF with this harness, but meanwhile, fucking Lumar from the 90s, look up some of this stuff. Look up what stunt people used to do to manipulate the clip so it releases quicker so you could do this and that. All right? You look at all that stuff, and you eliminate them from the case, and then there's an accusation that they were eliminated from the case so they could help Martha Hart really fuck WWF in the ass. You know, Martha Hart definitely deserved to win a lawsuit. But when you look up the Lumar aspect of it, how do you let the manufacturer off the hook? So, anyway, I needed to share that because to me, Martha got her ultimate revenge on WWF. Right now, I think on Pro Wrestling Tee Store, they have some official Owen Hart shirts that were just put on sale. And I know the profits are going to the Owen Hart Foundation. All right. Now, again, I'm not trying to compare one or the other, but I want to stress it. The profits. There's a big difference between proceeds and profits. Shad Gaspard, every penny. You pay $30 for the shirt, $25 for the shirt, that whole $25 is going to Shad Gaspard's family. You buy a shirt from Pro Wrestling Tees, if the profit is $6 and the shirt costs $20 to make, the Owen Hart Foundation is getting $6, not $26. So the shirts are nice, by the way. But so there you go. A lot of you out there wanted my thoughts on it. I feel absolutely terrible for that family. It sucks that people don't get along and they take it to their grave. A lot of you on Patreon know the story of my uncle that died like 6-7 years ago. He had a falling out with my father back in 1989. They never talked to the day my uncle died about 7 years ago. And it sucks, man. It sucks. I'm not going to get into the reasons here tonight. We got a lot to talk about still. But, you know, some of the most important information was conveniently left out last night because you want to push a certain narrative. And I don't like hit jobs like that. I just thought that was very, very convenient to leave things like that out. Now, figured you'd get a kick out of this. Yeah, everybody, if you're enjoying the show, hit the like button, please, because it allows, the show to get recommendations on other channels. And, I love the Triggered, to go on other channels and get my show as a recommendation. Like, why is this on my page? I don't know if they could block it, but anyway, I don't know if you saw this. We've been talking about the revolution of women in wrestling for the last couple of years. I will continue saying that I felt Becky Lynch is the number one woman in wrestling, most popular, not even close, even though popularity may not have been as what it was a year ago. But with the pregnancy now, it's back, to what it was. God bless her. Best wish to her and Seth Rollins, without a doubt. But I've also said that WWE, especially for the last couple of years, have hurt their wrestling product overall just to push women in wrestling. Unfortunately, you can't force certain types of reality TV to be equally male and female as far as a viewing audience goes. I understand you want to attract demographics, absolutely. And there is no reason why WWE, excuse me, I'm still in Owen Hart frame of mind. WWE, AEW, any promotion out there, there's no reason why they don't target demographics. But in all actuality, you have to look at your roster and say, okay, can I get a huge audience of women with the people that are on my roster? Or is it a case? That's why, if you remember, wasn't it Ring of Honor like a year or two ago that kind of got rid of almost their whole women's division? And it might have, I don't know if it was them or MLW, but one of them had said, look, we can't have an entire women's division with 6 women. Totally made sense. But, I feel that wrestling as a whole suffered because you forced a narrative that no longer felt organic. The women's revolution originally felt organic. Becky Lynch and her popularity becoming a man felt organic. A lot of it felt organic. When it stops feeling organic, that's when it starts to hurt wrestling. So now there is the push, once again, to build that female audience. WWE and AEW came out with their pushes this week. You probably get a kick out of it. First, let's get into the WWE version. This book is now on sale. It's called Kicking Down Doors. Female superstars are ruling the ring and changing the game. All right. Yeah, look, it's to attract females to maybe like the product even more. Hardcover sells about $19.99 right now. If you want the digital version, the Kindle version, it's about $9. And if you're curious to see what some of the pages look like, I actually got some pretty cool screenshots. It basically, from what it looks like to me, it really goes from mostly WrestleMania 1 with Wendy Richter up until now. So if you look at these, you know what, let's go back to the beginning. Let me restart this so you get a kick out of this. All right, here we go. Check this out. That is some of the pages. All right. Not too bad. Yeah, Mae Young Classic, Super Showdown, and Becky Lynch, I save for last. So, you know, not too bad. I think it's a pretty cool book. Got some pretty good articles in there. I don't know how many women they leave out. You know, Moolah, I don't think really has a shot of getting any real publicity at all. But that's a book that WWE is coming out. Stephanie is starting to really push it. And that's there, you know, to try to get some more female viewership. Nothing wrong with that. I find nothing wrong with it. Now, we go to AEW. And AEW, you know, they're getting a little bit of heat from people online, which I think is a little bit unfair because, hey, if they want to try to attract, you know, a bigger female audience to their product, why not? You know, is it as good as NXT? No, not even close. I mean, you look at the women's match today on NXT, you know, again, it's Sheeta and everybody else. My God, did you see when Nyla Rose, you know, went to the corner with Britt Baker? I mean, there was a couple of moments today that some people better fucking be thankful they didn't get seriously injured. Britt Baker in the corner was one. Nyla Rose was another. Hikaru Shida, believe it or not. How many of you out there, when Hikaru Shida went to do the suplex of Nyla Rose through that table, did you look at that table in the middle of the ring? And did you say to yourself, my God, that table looks awfully far away from the spot? You go back and watch that. Hikaru Shida is very lucky she didn't have what happened to Lizzie Borden. All right, because I was there, up close and personal, when I was doing timekeeping for XPW. And for a couple of minutes, yours truly and Kingdom James were accused of moving the table that put Lizzie Borden in the hospital. For those that don't know, there was a match in XPW in Philly. We were around the timekeeper's area, and there was going to be a spot where Lizzie Borden was going to get thrown through our table. And the idea was that as soon as that spot was going to come, I was going to jump over the guardrail into the fucking crowd and just run out of Dodge. And I did, and it's on video. What happened was they thought that when we ran away, that my foot or James's foot hit the leg of the table and pulled the table back just a couple of inches. So when Lizzie Borden went over the rope into the table, she hit the edge of the table in the back of her head. And she got knocked out, and she got pretty injured. You know, it was very, very scary for a little while. She got rushed to the hospital, and, you know, I got scared shit for a little while because I knew I didn't hit the table in any way, and neither did James. I guess they watched the footage back and realized we didn't do anything. But the table's too far away. You know, you get scary because somebody's head could fucking hit the edge of a table, and you got massive problems. So, you know, you go back and look at that spot tonight, you know, and you look at Sheeta more than anything, I'm like, you know, she's very lucky that she didn't hit her head at the edge of that table. Another one, Ray Phoenix. Did you see that somersault over the top rope? And, he lands pretty much with nobody catching him. I know a lot of those wrestlers are being blamed for that spot tonight. You go back and watch that again. First of all, you don't do it on the side of the ring where there's only about maybe 10 feet of room, because you need not just lift, but you need arch. So when you go over the rope, I did indie managing for a couple of years, and I've caught many wrestlers. In fact, to this day, there was an indie guy in the Northeast, and I always brag about it, but I always thought it was cool. There was this wrestler, maybe you guys know who he is. I don't know if he's still wrestling, but his name was called Sabotage. He wrestled here in the Northeast. And one of the coolest compliments that I ever got when I was doing matches in VPW, he actually came up to me more than one time. He says, man, I absolutely love how you catch me when I go over the top rope. Absolutely loved it. I mean, he said it to me like 3 or 4 times. And, I always, I was taught a little bit. But there was always room. There's always room to be able to adjust yourself. It's supposed to be split second, obviously. But when you're in that tight of an area and you got 6 or 7 people in that small area on the side of the AEW ring, you're just asking for trouble. You're asking for trouble because it's just not enough room. And when they're all doing their flippies tonight, I'm saying to myself, is this a shoulder separation contest? Is this like who could fucking get injured first? Because that's how I felt when I was watching some of that stuff that was going down. He bounced off the floor. But it looked scary, man. I don't know why you would do something like that on the side of the ring with people there like that. I thought it was very, very unnecessary. You want to do stuff for the fucking ladder match? Do it on a fucking ladder. Put the ladder in the ring and do some spots inside the ring. Doing what he did over the top rope. I don't know. Just how I feel about it. But let's get to AEW's women. Brandy put out this video that I think you might find interesting. Arriving May 27th. I laugh because I always think of when Mish made fun of Brandy's feet. And I think the photos that came out the following week, she put photos, I think everything but her feet. I don't have anything wrong with her feet. Look, nothing wrong with that whatsoever. AEW is going to expand their social media presence, have a group targeted for women, female wrestling fans. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. I have no problem with women being pushed in wrestling. I have no problem with women main eventing wrestling. I have no problem, any sex, gender, sexual preference getting pushed in wrestling. I just feel that you should not force a narrative and hurt other of your parts of your product because you want to force a certain narrative. It's got to be organic. Some people will ultimately rise to the top, but I always use the spam reference, not for women, just in general. You got a piece of spam and it tastes like shit, and that it's garbage meat. You can kind of like put like garnishes on it and maybe add like a little bit of food coloring, or maybe put a little gravy on it and this and that, and try to really masquerade the fact that it's spam. And you might, for a couple of seconds, be like, you know, it ain't too bad. What is this? And then ultimately, when you really get to the hardcore part of it, you're like, this is spam. It's spam. So do not hurt other parts of your company simply because you have to force this, you have to push this, you have to do this, simply because of someone's gender. I don't like, you know, I talk about it with WWE a lot. There are some people who are signed simply because of the country they come from. Not about a black or a white thing or anything like that, but without naming any names, there's some wrestlers that you could say to yourself, if they didn't represent, I don't know, Australia, nothing against Australia, but would that person or person still be under contract? Just using, you know, just a hypothetical. So kudos for AEW for doing that. Kudos for WWE for coming out with the book. I think you will find your share of men out there that might be a little bit insulted that, you know, they're not getting the attention, but the women are. You know, if women are entertaining me on the television, that's all I need. I'm a wrestling fan. I'm not a men's wrestling fan, I'm a wrestling fan. But when you force a narrative and it doesn't feel genuine, then it starts turning me off, you know. Anyway, just figured I'd share that with everybody. All right, let's see what else we could talk about, because we still got quite a few things to talk about. You know what? Let's get into AEW tonight and NXT, and we'll get, if we have enough time, I think, you know, if you all want. Anthony Diaz went to Wiki Feet. There's nothing wrong with Brandy's feet, but some people just are intrigued with their feet. Yes, there are people intrigued with Brandy Rhodes' feet. Mish made me laugh. In fact, I think the first ever video that I had ever done to test the video, doing what I'm doing now, we did a little graphic and we put up a picture of Brandy's feet. You see on the screen right now, the green box, you know, where on the left, we put a picture of Brandy's feet. I have it somewhere, but I'm not going to pull it out during the show. Maybe I will find it during the show. But let's talk quickly about Dynamite tonight and NXT. I don't think we need to spend that much time on either product. I already talked about some of it already. You know, AEW opens up with the Inner Circle coming out of a limousine, which I thought was pretty funny. Jericho making fun of Alex Marvez. You know, give me that once or twice a week. I wouldn't say it's on the same level of seeing Marco Stunt getting his ass kicked or being forced to pick his own nose, or even MJF with the subtle biting of his finger at the very end of the match. See, little things like that I see, you know, I catch. It's almost like a dog. You know, a dog could be in the other room and they could apparently smell things that we can't, you know, and you're in your bedroom and your dog's in the other room. You got a bag of potato chips. You want it all for yourself. You don't even give that motherfucker one chip. No. This whole bag is mine. So you're just very, 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 very quiet. You're just like, you're just going to open it really, really slow. And you just make the slightest sound. And the dog's like, and you fucking hear the bag. And the motherfucker comes in the room. And I'm too lazy to close the door. So, but anyway, it's, you know, that's, I see that with Marco Stunt. It's like a dog. Then you hear the slightest sound of food. You know, Marco Stunt, he's got to be forced to pick his nose. All right, you know, anytime you humiliate Marco Stunt, the character, on my television screen, it's a good day. Even though I was disappointed, I was not given any Dijournet tonight with my appetizer for the opening of NXT, but we'll get into that in a little bit. Brody Lee opens up the show, and, you know, once again, as I have given props repeatedly, you know, AEW, some of their wrestlers pretending they're fans at ringside, and Brody Lee telling them to keep quiet. You know, noise. You want to know something? I swear to fucking God, I've been singing the praise for Karrion Kross, Killer Kross for years. That whole thing with TNA last year, Impact Wrestling last year, I don't need to get into it, but you remember, you know, just the bullshit that they put him through. All right. But when he had that segment with Ciampa tonight, the talking segment, I swear on my parents' life. I had AEW on my television. I had NXT going on my tablet. And I had my computer going, me taking notes. So I was watching AEW on TV, and I had the tablet on my bed, and I turned away to type a couple of things on TV, on my computer screen. And then I was like, fuck, the NXT stream disconnected. It was dead silence. And I was like, motherfucker, because to reboot it is not that fun, because I got to log in back to YouTube TV and this and that. So I go pick up the tablet, and I look at it, and there's nothing wrong with the stream. It's Ciampa and Cross, and there's dead silence for like 7 seconds. I could have went into the bathroom, farted, and got back into my room, and it was still dead silence. There was so much dead silence, I thought my stream stopped. And I'm not trying to be funny here. This silence needs to stop. In fact, I've been expressing this complaint for 2 months now. Somebody told me yesterday that WWE sent out a survey. They send me surveys all the time. I delete them. I'm not, you fucking want to call me up, and if my opinion is that worthy to you, you fucking send me a direct email or call me. Don't fucking send me this mass thing and take a survey. Do you want to see WWE wrestlers around the ring? Somebody told me that yesterday. What are you waiting for? Seriously, there was so much dead silence, I thought something happened with my stream. That is inexcusable. That is the only time tonight that I actually thought it was funny, but there was noise, is when Dexter Lumis had Roderick Strong, and he had him in his arms, and he's petting his hair. I thought that was fucking... Dexter Lumis is quickly turning into my favorite NXT wrestler right now. I know what a lot of you say. How can you not say Cross? He's a long time listening to your show and you love him, this, that. He's not at that point yet. I like where they're going with that. I want to see Scarlett. Do you see the little fingernails, the cat claws on her gloves? I want her to fucking, not now, because it'll leave us, marks for a couple of weeks. I want her to fucking take that and either scrape the opponent in the back, just rake the back, because that will be a beautiful visual. Or if you really want to go into, a little darker area, she does that to Cross, and Cross has that, that look on his face that he is enjoying it. So, Jody... No, I don't think Cross is overhyped at all. I'm telling you, man, give it a little time. Let it develop. I'm a little surprised that he's already facing Ciampa at NXT TakeOver in your house, but I think that will end probably in a disqualification or something like that. But I'm telling you, give it a little time. When you talk about silly faces, we'll get to one in a little bit, but getting back to Brody Lee, he's in the ring. He's with the Dark Order. And he's talking about, that he's got, a very special piece pointing to the AEW championship. And he has 10 go on his knee. Then he has him get up. And 10's going to go to the ring to fight Jon Moxley. And again, everybody's got to come from somewhere. But when you sacrifice, you know what it's like? It's like a Jason horror film. And you have, like, the group of, and they always look hot. You ever notice that? You never have any, like, ugly, fat, podcasting-looking goofs, that rent out the cabin. They're always, like, ultimate hot, and the girls always have the tight shorts and half a shirt. And if that was my girlfriend and I'm with all my other friends, I'd put on a fucking sweater. What are you, why are you dressed like a slut? But that's what the movies are. But once in a while, like you get like an extra, like a guy like delivering a newspaper, and he gets hacked, but he's not like a part of the movie. He just happens to like walk by, and Jason just slashes his throat. Like, I don't give a shit about him. He's the fucking newspaper guy. I want to see him slash fucking blah 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 blah. So that's what this is, like with some of the members of the Dark Order. You fucking put 10 out there. I don't care if Moxley beats him, beheads him, breaks his arm, breaks his leg, like a bad cartoon, grabs him by the penis and whips him around and throws him onto the other side of the ring. He's 10. He's nothing yet. There's no emotion behind him yet. So that's what happens. Moxley beats him in 4 minutes. And then, as I said earlier, Moxley wants his belt back, threatens to break the arm of 10. And even that I didn't like too much, because when Moxley picked up the chair, and yes, I'm a stickler to detail, Moxley puts 10's arm inside the chair. Now, when Moxley hit the chair with the other chair, then 10's like, give me that. And he pulls his arm back and he's writhing in pain. But when the time it took for Moxley to pick up the chair and hit the chair, Goof 10 has got his arm just like sitting there, like it's like Guevara waiting for Alan Angels to hit him with the spot from the AEW Double Dark. And we'll play guess the winners in a little bit. So nobody gives a shit right now if you kill 10. So put him in a sling. Give him the I Am Mike Shark cast. I could care less. So now we have MJF. Marco Stunt. I'm a little surprised we're not getting Wardlow versus Luchasaurus on this pay-per-view, but, nonetheless, Jungle Boy versus MJF, it's going to be somewhat interesting. MJF beats Marco Stunt today, toys around with him a little bit. I love the butterfly suplex he gave to him. Then he hit the salt of the earth, and then right after he got the win, he bit Marco. It looked like he bit Marco Stunt's fingers. What I did not like is when Wardlow and MJF are going after Stunt. Not just the verbal was funny, like I not even my rats would kiss you, But there was a point where they're beating up Stunt, and this leads to Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus to hit the ring. Go back and watch it. Again, I'm a stickler to detail. 9 out of 10 podcasts wouldn't even bring this up, but I do. When you see Jungle Boy hit the ring, Wardlow is taking his sweet-ass fucking time getting out of the ring. And at one point, it almost looked like Wardlow could have turned to his right, and Jungle Boy was at the same pace walking with him. He could have been like, hey, what's going on? Kind of windy in here. Go back and see what I'm talking about. That is what's called presence in the ring. That is when I used to talk about Vladimir Kozlov. Remember that Elimination Chamber match when he's feuding with Triple H and he's just like conveniently walking by him and not even acknowledging that he's there? Like, the biggest asshole, I'm in a fight with a bunch of people and the biggest asshole is right next to me. As soon as that person's next to me, I'm clocking them in the mouth or trying to. And there was one point tonight, go look at it, with Wardlow and Jungle Boy. I'm like, come on, man. Seriously? I was not feeling it. So, and he didn't attack him either. Only after he left the ring. That's just me. I truthfully believe you get rid of these little details of nonsense, it really makes things look a lot different. That AEW Dark, some of those matches, man, you're watching that and you're saying to yourself, wait, this is pre-recorded. Why isn't this edited out? Why is this still on here? And then as you're watching these matches on Double Dark, you're saying to yourself, my God, AEW doesn't have the balls to hurt anybody's feelings. It just blows me. And that's why maybe I don't blame Alan Angels all that much. For all I know, everybody behind the scenes could have fucking gave him a hug, a handshake, a fist bump, a calf bump, a thigh bump, a bicep bump. Maybe gave him, gift certificate for Starbucks. Maybe they made him feel like he was $1 million. So, Arn Anderson and Jake Roberts, face to face. Social distanced. They're not what they used to be on the mic. And at times it was a little rough. But man, you listen to them and you're like, man, wrestling used to be awesome with promos. And there are guys that cut promos today. Let's be honest. There's some great people on the mic today. You got two grizzled veterans like that. And they're not young grizzled veterans. and they're cutting their promo. It was a little bit all over the place. I mean, Jake Roberts a little bit, he's like calling her Bimbo Brandy. Oh, I like to bump into her again. You trigger the real lightweights online. And good. Trigger them. When they got to Mike Tyson and Arn Anderson's like, Mike Tyson could do this, Mike Tyson could do that, it felt like it was going a little bit all over the place. But overall, though, I enjoyed it. I mean, you look at Jake, though. Jake looks like he, has a lot of problems with his hip and his legs. Like, he really looks a little bit shaky on his feet. But the promo was great. There were points of it that made total sense. And, even when Arn Anderson said, the only reason why I'm not doing anything to you right now, I thought he was going to say something like, because I don't want to get COVID and die because of your sorry ass. But, when he said that he's going to, spike him into where the sun don't shine on Saturday, I liked it, man. I thought it was good. It was not too long. And it did what it needed to do. I did laugh. I think Jake Roberts kind of like tried to push Tony Schiavone out of the way, and Tony gave a look like, no, that wasn't part of the plan. But, I enjoyed it. Not their best work, but who cares? That video package with Darby Allin playing cards, with all the faces taped, the pictures taped to everybody's heads. It's going to be in the ladder match. I liked it. It's funny. I see Darby Allin getting more criticism online the last couple of weeks than usual. The way he lost to Cody was awful. I mean, it just looked awful. He just like laid there like a dead fish or like a turtle. You put a turtle on its shell, and I've talked about it before. They could go like this, but they can't go nowhere because the shell is against the concrete. But at least they're wiggling their feet and their legs, which actually look pretty funny if you ever done that in person. I was a kid. But, Darby Allin, it was like he was paralyzed. Like his feet and his legs were like this. It almost looked like when you used to buy like a Hustler magazine and you got like a woman there with her legs just spread like this and it's just a photo, so they're not moving. Darby Allin looked like a still shot. But still, I'm looking forward to that match Saturday. Now, Ray Phoenix over Orange Cassidy. I said this before. I'll continue saying it. I think Orange Cassidy should be saved for when crowds return. Crowds are going to return before you know it. There was a little bit too much goofy comedy in the beginning. Ray Phoenix almost looking like Wile E. Coyote. Like everything he was doing, he was missing. And, to me, it was a little bit over the top. The match got better as it went along. But it just didn't feel like it told the story. It just felt like, okay, these two guys are in a ladder match. Now, that kick last week, I played that over and over again. That kind of represents my, feelings of people that tried to shoot me down with video. So that kick last week that Phoenix did an awesome move tonight, too. I don't know if you saw it. But Phoenix ran from the rampway, just a few feet, but ran, jumped on the middle rope, and then dived over and landed on Orange Cassidy. It was beautiful. But after the match was over, like I said, I hope Ray Phoenix is okay. There's a lot of concern online that he may have injured himself. I have no idea this early. But again, totally unnecessary. Some of the stuff, even with the women, unnecessary time. Little shoddy, to be honest with you. Nyla Rose, Britt Baker, Chris Statlander, still very young in their careers. Plenty of time to get better. But just because you put Sheeta in there, can't save it all the time. And when you see little things happen, like what happened in the corner with Nyla Rose and Britt Baker and stuff like that, and you see, remember Statlander when they had Meg around not too long ago, and she did that, whatever she did outside the ring, and she did like a flip and totally missed her. Little things like that, if you focus on just her work, you realize that she is far for ready to prime time. The gimmick might be cool and she's got a great look to herself and she's not horrible in the ring, but man, you want to try to, hide some of the negatives. You put Nyla Rose Britt Baker, Chris Statlander, who are still very young in their careers and learning. And you only have Sheeta. Sheeta could help somebody get to that area, but she can't do everything. And it was a little bit sloppy today. I was not feeling it, to be honest with you. Then we had Matt Hardy and Sammy Guevara. Fun match. When you see Guevara with Matt Hardy, and then you see Guevara with Alan Angels, there's a reason why, like, Guevara, he's wrestling some people like Darby Allin and others. Guy looks like $1 million. Not absolutely polished, but the fucking guy has sold me as far as, him being a future star. Absolutely. But, the match was what it was today. It was really cool to see Hangman Page back, finally, because of the pay-per-view. The Young Bucks back, finally, because of the pay-per-view. At the very end, they kind of teased that they had Omega, on this little pseudo-football field stadium, just to give a little teaser. I don't think it's happening in that small area. But Young Bucks made an appearance. Hangman Page makes an appearance. And then Hangman Page, they pick up where he left off last time, that he walks off the field. And it's, if Hangman Page is back weekly and he's comfortable to perform again, then fine. Pick up where you left off. But if he's coming back for this shot and maybe 1-2 episodes after, and then he disappears again for a couple of weeks or a month, I don't know. I don't know how I would have handled it, to be honest with you. But, Matt Hardy bit his foot. They like to do that with Guevara. There's little things that they do with Guevara that you don't normally see with others. And I don't know if it's him coming up with these ideas or if it's Jericho. I don't know if it's Matt Hardy, so to speak, because you don't see some of these things, happen in the past. Then again, those could have been pitched to the writers in WWE back then. Oh, no. Don't do that. Don't do that. So, but I liked it, man. Overall, the show flowed a little bit better than last week's show, but I don't know if the ratings are really going to reflect that much of a difference, and it's leading into a pay-per-view. I personally feel that the pay-per-view is solid on paper. I think the price is a little bit steep still. It's going to be cool to see Mike Tyson, but Mike Tyson isn't going to do anything crazy to put him in a situation where he could get injured, especially with what's going on with him and, possibly coming back for a boxing match here and there. But, it wasn't bad. Moxley, his interview was fine. And by the way, speaking of interviews, you might want to check this out. Moxley did an interview online with Bleacher Report. I believe it was yesterday. And it had some pretty nice discussion on there. It was about a half hour long, very, primitive video. I mean, it looked like cell phone video on both sides. But, it was to promote the Double or Nothing pay-per-view. Moxley, I think, was eating pretzels during the video, but he was talking a little bit about the Cage Fighter movie. They were asking him a little bit about his history with wrestling, and he was bringing up how, he used to, when he go to Blockbuster Video, like UFC videos used to be right next to the wrestling section, so he would watch UFC stuff. And he calls Chris Jericho the greatest of all time, reflected on the Revolution pay-per-view. He even said that, when he was a kid, did not have a computer. He didn't even know how you can become a wrestler, even though he would see magazines. But he said one time he saw a flyer for Heartland Wrestling, Les Thatcher's group, and I guess on the back or something, it said something about a wrestling school. And that's, when he basically got sold to go into pro wrestling. His favorite era in wrestling for him was 1996, 1997, when Austin was feuding with Bret Hart. ECW was leading into Barely Legal. Not a bad era to choose, to be honest with you. He's never met Mike Tyson before, but one time he was at a UFC event with his wife, and Mike Tyson was sitting in front of him, and he said that Mike Tyson had tripped and dropped a drink, which was pretty funny. He was giving some advice to aspiring wrestlers, his taste in music. One thing I decided to research for all of you is they asked him his favorite wrestling match of all time. And he brought up Austin Hart from WrestleMania 13. He also loved the Iron Man match from WrestleMania 12. He said that at that time, like, because the match went 60 minutes, like, he would do things for 60 minutes. Like, if he had to run, he would run 60 minutes, which was really cool. But then he also brought up another match, and it was Takeda versus Yuko Miyamoto for the Big Japan Deathmatch Heavyweight Championship. It was a scaffold death match. And, he said that he didn't know if it was on video. And a few people I noticed were asking, like, when did that match take place? Where did it take place? And I actually found it. So if anybody out there that was ever into like that hardcore stuff and is curious to see Moxley's favorite like hardcore match of all time, look up Big Japan Wrestling, July 12th, 2009. And that is the card. You'll see there's a ladder death match on there of Sasaki versus Isami Kodaka. They got some pretty decent matches on there. But if you look up July 12th, 2009, Big Japan Pro Wrestling from the Yokohama Bunka Gymnasium, that is the card that he's talking about. So I just figured I'd share with everybody out there. We saw the Undisputed Era tonight on NXT. For those who may be interested, this is interesting. Mick Foley is going to be hosting a Q&A panel with the Undisputed Era. It's going to take place Thursday, May 28th, online from 7 p.m. to 8:15 p.m. And this Q&A, all the proceeds from it are going to go to a charity called Give Kids the World. And basically, it's a nonprofit resort in Central Florida. And what it does is it provides week-long vacations to children with critical illnesses and their families to just get away for a little while. It's a really cool charity if you want to look it up. Next Thursday, May 28th from 7 to 8:15 p.m. It does cost $20, and you could get it through Eventbrite, which I'm sure a lot of you have heard of before. But I think that's pretty interesting, man. Undisputed Era, all members being interviewed by Mick Foley for charity. Not bad. Not bad at all. I think that's a wonderful thing. Before we move to NXT, last week we did Guess the Winner with AEW Double Dark. I read you the matches that took place this week. Can you guess the winners? Hikaru Shida versus Danny Jordan. And you got Shida going into the pay-per-view. Who do you think's going to win in that? QT Marshall over Clutch Adams. The fuck is Clutch Adams? I think you could guess who won that match. Marco Stunt versus Jason Cade. Holy shit, Marco Stunt gets a win. Jimmy Havoc and Kip Sabian versus Musa and Lee Johnson. Guess who fucking won that match? You see where I'm going with this? Double the dark, double the predictability. We need some more even matches and some outcomes that people wouldn't expect. Ray Phoenix versus Sean Dean. Gee, I wonder who fucking won that match. Luther versus John Cruz. Private Party versus Ryan Rembrandt and Mike Reed. Sammy Guevara versus Alan Angels, as I said earlier. And Darby Allin versus Serpentico. There's not one match on there. If I did a predictions contest, if I had 100 entries, I think there'd be 100 ties. So, whatever. NXT tonight. NXT opened up with a bang. They had Karrion Kross. And, as I joked earlier, I was kind of hoping we'd get Denzel DeJournette. It's more of a joke than anything else right now. Karrion Kross beat someone by the name of Liam. And I love all the journalists online. They just wrote Liam because it was on his ass. Liam. Not even bothering to look. Who is Liam? So I did a little research. And it appears, if I'm correct, that this is Liam Gray, who you might have seen wrestle in Evolve. He's only, I believe, 24 years old. Not too many years under his belt. Not a bad wrestler in any way, but that, I believe, is who the Liam was that got destroyed by Karrion Kross. I love that he's had 2 matches, and both matches he's won in about a minute. It's different when someone just does like squash move, especially when they're a huge guy. You think of Eric Rowan very recently. You think of some of the generic squash matches that WWE does. What I like about Karrion Kross's first 2 matches is the way he just abused the opponent with the suplexes. Like, it comes across, the suspension of disbelief, like whoever's in that ring. You hit him, you hit 2, suplexes like that, and you put someone in a cross jacket, you probably get to almost knock out anybody. That's why I believe that their match at TakeOver is going to probably end in a little bit of a clusterfuck. No reason for Kross to get a loss this early, or Ciampa to lose this early to Kross. Maybe my mind changes by the time June comes around. But, after the match is over, Ciampa's music hits, he comes out, he gets on the mic, and this is where, like I said, the dead silence, I thought my connection had gone because it was so silent, too silent in my opinion. But you had Scarlett actually lift the rope, like, come to the ring, welcome to the ring. And he basically, Ciampa challenged Killer Kross for NXT TakeOver in your house, and ended the promo by saying, welcome to the main event. Very good, simple. Should have had a little bit more noise, in my opinion, but, I'll take it. It's going to be very interesting to see those 2 guys go at it. I'm looking forward to it. Next, and, look, I think we pretty much have called this, a lot of you as well, the last couple of weeks. El Hijo del Fantasma, he's taking on Tozawa. My opinions on the way they've used Tozawa on Raw and NXT the last 2-3 weeks. Ain't no way Tozawa was going 3-0. No way, shape, or form. So, sure enough, Fantasma wins. A lot of people now are convinced that Fantasma is the leader of this group of guys that are trying to kidnap people. Almost happened again today after Tozawa loses to Fantasma. But interesting enough, Fantasma and Tozawa now are 2-1. Do they face off again next week in a rematch? I don't recall seeing that banner today, but it's very possible that it could be happening. Timothy Thatcher basically cuts a promo challenging Riddle, pretty much any match, but, you can only win by knockout or tap out. Later on in the show, Riddle accepts the challenge, and next week on NXT, we have a cage fight. Personally, because of Riddle's background, I would love to see WWE bring back almost like, remember Shamrock with the Lion's Den? I'd love to see something like that. Not a regular cage match. The only thing is, I don't know if WWE has any equipment on hand that they could possibly rent or get. Especially when you think about the fact that I think next week's NXT might have been taped today already or tomorrow. So I don't know, if they have the capabilities to do like a Lion's Den match or something like that. But still, they're going to be fighting next week. It's an interesting match. You kind of starting to see WWE starting to up the names in some of the matches. I mean, we've always had big name main events. You're starting to see some more names being put together that are a little bit higher in the food chain. I think Thatcher and Riddle next week probably leads to a match at TakeOver as well. But that Shotzi Blackheart vignette aired, which I thought it was great. She talks about her dad and talks about, just being her dad being a badass, and she was inspired by punk rock. They showed her like standing up on the top of a tank in some field, And when she was talking about that she was going to show everybody like what she's going to do with the women's division, I thought that son of a bitch was going to blow something up. I wanted to see that son of a bitch blow something up. But it almost looked like, you remember the car? Remember Nitro back? Because I know it's, lore these days. But Goldberg squashed Sid Vicious's car. And Sid Vicious, the car was like so small to begin with that you don't even know how Sid Vicious would have fit in that car when it was not crushed. But he's standing on top of the car. Goldberg! That's what it looked like today. It just, they took junk. They had the tank run over junk that was already junk. But I still enjoyed it. They're definitely, you could see that they're trying to start elevating Shotzi Blackheart that much more. And I liked it. I thought it was really good. One thing that I did not like was the Cameron Grimes. I was surprised at how many of you out there that loved my reference last week that he's like a Spaceballs stunt double for Jimmy Jam Garvin. Didn't it feel today like the vibes of him cutting his promo, that all he needed to do is swivel his hips a little bit, and it almost felt like a hick ripoff of Jimmy Jam Garvin. I don't know. The hairy chest, the beard. I don't know, man. I don't know. So, by the way, if you're enjoying the show, hit the like button. Much appreciated. Next, we had Santana Garrett and Mia Yim. Mia Yim beats her in a minute, so there was no match there. But the news was what transpired after. Gargano comes out with Candice LeRae, talking smack to Mia Yim. You feel it already. And this is something I've talked about a few times in the last couple of weeks. I don't know if I want that many real-life couples on TV feuding. And we had it tonight again, that Keith Lee comes to the aid of Mia Yim. So now you got Keith Lee in the ring with Mia Yim. You got Gargano, backtracking with Candice LeRae. Here is another couple on TV on NXT. Quite a few couples when you think about it. But, I believe it's going to set up a match between Gargano and Keith Lee at TakeOver. I kind of would prefer to see a mixed tag match. If you're going to put real-life couples on TV, maybe you do a mixed tag match here and there, especially since you're not doing the mixed match challenge, which wouldn't surprise me if it becomes like maybe an NXT theme, not now, but maybe in the future, bunch of weeks on NXT television, mixed match challenge. Would not be surprised if they did that. So we had Drake Maverick being interviewed by Mackenzie Mitchell. And, he's basically tired of everything. He knows he's an underdog. Kushida is an obvious threat. But, he only had one thing to do tonight, and that was to win. And I will fast forward to that match. He defeated Kushida. And, if you remember, I don't do this to piss people off sometimes. I do it more for reminders. But you may remember a couple of weeks ago I said, wouldn't it be something if we had Kushida, Jake Atlas, and Drake Maverick end up 2-1? And that leads. And if Drake Maverick is leaving, I don't know for sure. EC3 put up on his page a new Spud shirt that's on sale. I don't know, what the deal is with that. But, if Drake Maverick is going to leave, and I've said this for 2 weeks now at least, Jake Atlas probably be the one to screw him. So I don't know if that's going to happen, but if it does, it'd be very interesting to see what they do with Jake Atlas. Because the problem is you don't have live crowds right now. So you could only depend on social media backlash because you're not going to have the next week, the fans going, asshole, asshole. You're not getting any of that right now. So we'll see where it goes. Roderick Strong taking on Dexter Lumis. Great match. I honestly was shocked that Dexter Lumis lost this match. I love when Dexter Lumis shows his eyes, the whites of his eyes. And, when he was doing it against Denzel DeJournette and the other guy, I kept calling like something Rush, not Leo Rush, but something else. And like, it's not Rush, it's Ross or whatever it is. You know, like Dexter Lumis would show his eyes, and the wrestlers in the ring were like freaking out, like, what is he doing? What is he looking like that? What is that? But tonight it fit perfect because Roderick Strong was nailing shots on Dexter Lumis. Dexter Lumis was getting pissed off, and it reminded me of my father. I swear on a stack of Bibles, it reminded me of my father when I was a kid. You know, my father, you know, was old school. Up until I was about 14, 15, I'd get whipped with the belt. I remember one time, I must have been like 13, 14 years old, and I said, if I get hit the next time, I'm not gonna give him the satisfaction of me showing pain. And I remember my father, and I deserved at that time to get hit. He hit me with the belt, and I just looked at him. And I think I might have said, like, is that the best you could do or something like that? And I remember him putting the whites of his eyes like, you fucking kidding me? And just angered him even more. When I saw the whites of his eyes, I'm like, okay, I think I made a big fucking mistake. That's what the flashback I had tonight with Roderick Strong nailing Dexter Lumis, and Dexter Lumis looks at him, and Roderick Strong is like, oh fuck, the fuck did I do? I like what they're doing with Dexter Lumis, but you know, you had Roderick Strong, you know, basically just sit down and get the abrupt pin. Yeah, the abrupt pin doesn't hurt Lumis's stock in any way if you think about it. But still, you know, a loss is a loss. But what was interesting after is Undisputed Era comes out, and they're basically beating down Lumis. Here comes Velveteen Dream. And again, puts a smile on my face because I immediately think of the 99% of the podcast community out there that all rushed to judgment and were convinced that this motherfucker did what he was being accused of. I take pride that I did not believe it from day one. Not because I'm a crazy Velveteen Dream fan. He'd never do that. He'd never do. I don't know the guy personally, but it just did not add up. And the more people I told, like, the more, like, people, like, got mad at me. Like, you know, like, why do you want to be convinced that it's true? You know, so there's no way WWE would have kept him if he did what he was accused of. But, my God, talk about sick shit. When I watched it back, I even thought, I said, you know, I wonder if they would have paused it and did the different camera angle just to ease the fall. Did you see what Dream did? He fucking climbed the top of the rope and landed to the outside of the ring. That is like Cactus Jack territory. And Cactus Jack used to go from the apron and do the cactus elbow outside. Velveteen Dream climbs the fucking top rope and does it and lands outside. I mean, you go back and you watch that. That's pretty freaking impressive because that was the concrete floor. Go back and look at it. And again, if you watch it again, I said to myself, like, wait a minute, did he just go all the way to top rope and do like the Macho Man elbow, you know, outside to the concrete floor? The change in the camera, I was like, okay, you know, I would have been fine if it was, okay, they did two different camera angles because there ain't no way that this guy's going to climb the top rope and then do an elbow to the outside of the ring and you'll land on your hip like that. It's probably, yeah, see, Benjamin thinks it was an edited spot too. It just, you know, I know that probably just was overlooked by a lot of people out there, but when you think about, you know, again, climbing the top rope, diving off to the outside, to the concrete floor, not landing and being caught by someone, but elbowing someone, and your hip and your pelvis is going right smack into that concrete. You know, if anything, he probably would have been injured more than Ray Phoenix. Beautiful spot, man. Beautiful spot. The only thing I did not like, if you go back and you watch it, right after Roderick Strong got the win, Dexter Lumis, like, creeps up behind him and puts submission move. And if you look at Roderick Strong, for a couple of seconds, and might be me nitpicking, but Roderick Strong is doing this. Like over-exaggerating. And Dexter Lumis, it didn't even look like he had it locked in all that much. And, you know, Roderick Strong putting on an acting performance of his life. You look at it, it was a little goofy. But, man, that jump off the top rope was beautiful. Beautiful. Then we had the scene where Tozawa was almost kidnapped and, you know, El Hijo del Fantasma, you know, just got out of the car a little too late. Had to go out on the other side of the door. I tell you this much, man. You know what I'd love to see possibly be the extra person in the ladder match? And you know what? Since we're hitting 2 hours now, and obviously this is going to go over time, you guys want me to stick around? I'll make a deal with you. You all are enjoying this show, and you want me to stick around for another half hour. If you're enjoying the show, hit the like button. And if you like the channel, subscribe, because, you know, we're approaching almost 11,000, as you can see. So, yeah, so I'll stick around another half hour. So, I'll bring this up. We don't know who the 9th person is in the AEW Battle Royal. Not Battle Royal, but the ladder match for the number 1 contendership. Now, I look at the roster. Nobody really comes to mind where I would be like, oh, shit! Well, you got to, like, tweet it. But I'll tell you one name I wouldn't mind it to be. And even though this person is not in AEW right now, and then I thought, you know what? This person might be good in NXT too. Then I thought, you know what? I think this person might even be good in Zelina Vega's group on WWE television. Can you guys figure out who I'm talking about here? Guy that did not renew his contract with NWA. Ricky Starks. You know, look, Ricky Starks is not a household name yet. I was thinking about it, and I'm like, you know what? I wouldn't mind seeing Ricky Starks in AEW. I wouldn't mind seeing Ricky Starks in NXT. I wouldn't mind seeing Ricky Starks replacing, you know, Austin Theory in Zelina Vega's group. So, what do you guys think about Ricky Starks possibly making the jump? Guy is tremendous talent, tremendous future, not a household name yet. So wherever he goes, you know, and don't discount the possibility of him re-signing with NWA. Yeah, it could be Jeff Cobb as well, but Jeff Cobb was already there one time and would come on tender. You know, I don't know. I don't know, but I wouldn't, if Ricky Starks ends up being the one to show up, I don't know if I would have him win it. But, you know, you'd be surprised, AMJ. I mean, there's some wrestlers that fans know who they are. Some wrestlers look like wrestlers. Some of them just look like they work at a coffee shop. That's why, like I said, nothing against, you know, the Forgotten Sons on SmackDown. But, you know, I'm looking at them and I'm saying to myself, you know, tell me, like, what stands out about them other than beards and a leather jacket and claiming it, you know, stuff with the military. Nothing, no disrespect intended, but, you know, some wrestlers have to be look a little unique, in my opinion. Yeah, the Forgotten Sons of Bitches. That's what I call them. So Tozawa is almost kidnapped. So now you know the masked wrestlers, you know, don't mind possibly wanting to kidnap, you know, someone from the Asian Japanese community, you know, whatever. Somebody will probably say, he's Korean. Only Lorcan and Danny Burch beating Everrise in a minute and a half. I don't know, man. I almost felt like, okay, I could just picture goofs out there saying Everrise looks like a ripoff of the Young Bucks or something like that. It was a minute match. Them, you know, impersonating Imperium after, I think that is a seed to be planted where we may see Imperium versus Lorcan and Burch in the near future. I don't know if I want to see that, to be honest with you. We had Kushida losing to Drake Maverick, as I said earlier in the night. Jake Atlas came out halfway through the match And that's when I started getting the PMs like, you motherfucker. You're the one that kept bringing up Jake Atlas and Drake Maverick for like 2 or 3 weeks. Here's this guy rooting for him. He's got to turn on Drake Maverick. Maybe Drake Maverick wins next week, advances to the final of Phantasma versus Tozawa, and then maybe if Maverick stays and possibly wins, then maybe Jake Atlas celebrates with Drake Maverick in the ring, then turns on him. Then maybe this leads to Jake Atlas versus Drake Maverick. I'm not saying that that's going to happen. I haven't gotten to that point yet. But so far for the tournament, pretty much nailed it. Even with the TNT tournament. So far, every match on point too. And I'm still convinced that your first ever TNT champion will absolutely beat Lance Archer. I don't even think there's even remotely a chance of Cody winning. I could be wrong, but so we get tonight the main event, Io Shirai versus Rhea Ripley. I had it on Twitter, but my grammar, because I was typing so fast, I fucked up on my grammar. After a lot of people saw it, I deleted the tweet. I said it last week. A lot of you said it last week. Soon as that promo was cut, disrespecting Charlotte last week, you just knew that Charlotte was going to come out, spoil the match between Shirai and Ripley. And that's exactly what we had. We had a nice, decent, back-and-forth match. Charlotte's music hits, and she ends up interfering, goes off the air with Shirai and Rhea Ripley laid out in the ring. I still think Io Shirai versus Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte is probably the match planned for NXT TakeOver in Your House. I don't mind that match, and I think that there is a very good chance that we may see a title change if that match takes place. Now, whether it'll be Ripley to win, believe it or not, some people know I said that, or Io Shirai, I haven't decided yet. I haven't even decided if Charlotte's going to lose that title at that pay-per-view, but let's see if they make that match official. I'm looking forward to seeing Thatcher and Riddle next week. I think that's going to be a really fun match, although it's going to end in clusterfuck, because I think they're destined to have a match on TakeOver. I tell you, man, this TakeOver is really starting to be put together as a very, very strong card. Very strong card. Now, as far as the ratings go, I don't know, man. Last week, again, I thought AEW would get 664. Then I changed it to 654. No, I said 664. Then I upped it to 677, and it was 654 overall. I honestly think that last week they were coming off of that street fight. And I don't think fans expected some of the types of matches we got last week. This week follows last week, which was a little bit disappointing. And yes, it's leading into AEW. I would have wished that they could have had Tyson show up tonight. There should have been a contract signing earlier with Archer and Cody, with maybe Mike Tyson, being the MC of it, or you know what I mean. They should have done something like that. Have a little push apart, maybe tease a little dissension between Cody and Tyson, or Archer and Tyson. They didn't do that route. So I don't think anybody ever thought that Tyson was going to be on there today. Sammy Guevara versus Matt Hardy, to me, is a stronger main event on paper than Lance Archer and Christopher Daniels, or Christopher Daniels and Brody Lee, or Brody Lee. And so I would say this week's rating is going to be very close to last week's rating. So last week was actually 654. I'm going to say 673. I'm going to go with 673. Last week I said 677 overall, so I'm going to say 673. I think it comes up a little bit. Some people blamed last week on UFC, I think had some stuff on TV. I don't think that really made any impact at all. Mortalica, I'll talk about Dana Brooke and Jim Cornette on Friday, because Dana Brooke's Smackdown, and we don't talk Raw or SmackDown on Wednesday, but I'll definitely talk about it Friday. I definitely will. I have a lot to say about that. NXT, last week, I thought it was going to be 639, and it only did 604, which was very disappointing. I think NXT rebounds a little bit this week. I actually enjoyed NXT this week more than I did last week. Another match that we forgot to mention that is going to take place next week. No, actually, I think it's going to take place at TakeOver. Finn Balor versus... In fact, yes, I am correct. I just remembered. Finn Balor versus Damian Priest at TakeOver. Damian Priest wants to beat Balor of where he, I guess, made it, as far as WWE or what he's famous for, which was TakeOver. I think that's going to be a pretty decent match to get into. We'll see what happens. So something's going to transpire next week. But, this week, it started off strong. I don't remember too many lulls tonight, even though some matches did, go way too short. But I will say that the actual was 604 last week. I say it goes up a little bit. I said 673 for AEW. NXT is going to be close. I'm going to say NXT scores 649. So AEW wins again, 673 to 649, which will be important because that'll be over the 1.3 million mark once again. Wasn't too long ago that they were 1.4 million with empty arenas. There's just some names notably absent. You actually look on paper the match results, especially NXT the last couple of weeks, there are some names that have not wrestled. And they're definitely hurting some of the ratings, without a doubt. So, anyway, NWA this week had their edition called Carneyland. Welcome to Carneyland. This is what we got treated to. And if you remember last week, I said I expected it to be like a lot of goofy stuff with skits and things like that. And I'll be honest with you, it was not bad. The fact is they're not taping matches right now. And they have to fill time somewhere. So they're now doing this Carneyland where it's just a lot of skits, a lot of oddball stuff. There was some great stuff on there. Eddie Kingston's promo was great. Nick Aldis doing this thing called True Stories, and he's talking about promoters that screwed him in the past without naming any names. Allison Kay doing a segment where she's talking about cliche promos. And, she's breaking it down like, how you do a promo and this and that. I thought that was pretty hilarious. There was a couple of moments that things kind of fell flat. That with Tim Storm, like talking about Benjamin Franklin was kind of goofy. Eli Drake show kind of felt a little goofy. The Tim Storm's Carneyland history lesson. Look, the end result with this Carneyland is they're trying to get creative. It was funny with Aaron Stevens. Not Aaron Stevens. What the hell am I saying? Oh my God, I'm drawing a freaking blank. Wade Barrett. When they couldn't afford. Oh, wait a minute. No. I'm looking at this skits over here. They couldn't afford. Oh, I'm drawing a fucking blank right now of his NWA wrestling name now. But basically now what they're doing is they're doing funny segments when Dave Marquez opens up and, he's hearing like voices and they're cutting these. Honestly, it's just, you know what? Mish said, and I know this is really dated, but you remember an old show called Hee Haw? I never liked it. My parents liked it when I was a kid. I remember one chick having like big tits and she always like had her tits showing. It wasn't nudity or anything like that, but it was like a show like Hee Haw. They would have like corny skits. And this is pretty much what it is. You're going to have gold from Aaron Stevens. You're going to have, gems of commentary from, Wade Barrett. I just drawing blanks right now. Some of it hits well. The Eddie Kingston promo was great. Eddie Kingston has been great on the mic for many, many years now. But some of it is goofy. Yeah, no, look, Benjamin, no, don't say I'm revealing my age. I'm not the one that came up with the hee-haw analogy. Mish did. And I was like, that's actually a pretty damn good analogy. If you remember hee-haw skits, that's what it was. But they hyped up next week. And this is what they're showing for next week, okay? Mondays is going to be called What's Causing All This? Get it, Nick Aldis? What's Causing All This? Tuesdays is going to be Carneyland. Wednesdays, Inside the NWA. Thursdays, the Eli Drake Show. And Fridays, Girl Power. Look. Right now, they're trying to fill time. Stu Bennett, thank you, Stu Bennett. I was drawing a complete blank with his real name because I always knew him as Wade Barrett. So yes, Stu Bennett. Stu Bennett. I love his commentary, man. That guy, he's pretty damn good. I would put him on the same level as Jericho entertaining, but he definitely holds his own, man. He's definitely holding his own. But that's what they're advertising. Somebody saying that they're showing hee-haw in Canada. Honestly, I haven't watched it since I was a kid. But it is a good analogy because I do remember all of the skits that used to be shown during it. But, hey, give NWA props for coming up with some very creative ideas for TV. And you got to keep in mind, right now, every promotion out there is trying to generate some money somehow. You had MLW announce on a YouTube channel that they're now doing skits. I watched some of them earlier. You had Tom Lawler training in his garage. I think he said something like, I didn't get any of that pandemic unemployment loan or something like that. There was one with, what the fuck's his name, that old manager. He had a girl sitting on his lap and playing off like the sugar daddy and everything. It's okay. Savio Vega, La Parka make an appearance. I don't know. I know why they had some old vintage Bill Alfonso at the beginning of it because they're showing some old footage from the early 2000s. Colonel Rob Parker. Yes, Colonel Rob Parker. Yes. I used to be a fan of Colonel Rob Parker. Him playing the sugar daddy right now, I think is pretty funny. But, look, everybody's trying to get a little bit of revenue somewhere. Unfortunately, YouTube revenue is nowhere near what people think that it is. It was funny because someone was trying to, stir up a little controversy about YouTube revenue on this channel. And somebody was bringing up a show I did last Monday. And I was like, I don't give a fuck. I put a screenshot up and I showed everybody, that was asking about it, other than Super Chat, I think it was like $2.11. Now, obviously, MLW, AEW does great on YouTube. WWE is making a killing too. MLW is going to be politely okay, decent, with their views. Ring of Honor, I don't know, they're doing something as well. But, when you actually think about the revenue that's being made, very, very small. Very small. Yeah, I wasn't on YouTube when that apocalypse happened. And, look, I could say it now. That's why you don't see TV tracks on YouTube anymore. That's why you don't see Epic Sports on YouTube anymore, for all of you who remember them. TV tracks, I never knew him personally. I don't even know what the guy's name was. But he used to put all our clips up. He used to put Jason's up and a few others. And never paid us anything. He was a patron for a little while for us. But whatever revenue that he made, he kept. Then the apocalypse happened. And I remember him sending me a PM, and he's like, look, he says, I'm going to take a break for a little while. And I was like, dude, I can't thank you enough for all of the, exposure that you've given, the shows that I do and this and that. Then when I started looking into doing video on YouTube and started finding out what kind of money was being made before the apocalypse, I was like, motherfucker, TV tracks must have been pulling in thousands a month. Thousands a month. It's incredible. Good for him. God bless him. But, TV tracks, look, man, I'll say this. Even if he made that kind of money, which I know he did, even if he made that kind of money, that guy worked so hard to make that money. Because when you think about it, he would listen to our shows on Monday, listen to my show on Wednesday, listen to Jason's show, listen to one or two other podcasts as well. So that guy listened to at least 10, 20 hours of wrestling podcasts a week, then would pull clips, then upload them in this. You have to listen a hell of a lot of footage to start pulling things here and there. So he, he worked his ass off. But yeah, I miss the apocalypse, man. I wish, but hey, I'm having fun, man. I needed to advance to this because I was done, man. Audio only for 23 years. It's fucking boring. It became boring. When you want to laugh and, try to describe things and I'm doing things, you think of some of the physical stuff I do on these shows. And when you go back, even when I was talking last week about the Cody stuff and all that, now think of me if I was doing that and it was audio only. I'm saying, oh, and he's doing this. Meanwhile, you just listen to audio what is he doing? What is he doing? Plus, when you talk serious, you see someone's eyes, that's a big deal as well. So I had to go video. Otherwise, I was done. So speaking of done, here is one promotion that unfortunately is having some major problems right now. That's Progress Wrestling. They announced that they are canceling all of their shows going into October. They had some shows already announced, and then they had to reschedule them. So the June 28th, July 10th, 11th, 12th, 26th, 30th, 31st, August 1st, 2nd, 29th, 30th, 31st, and September 27th, they're all postponed. And, I don't blame them because, look, if you remember last week and I said, MLW is being a little bit sneaky, Court Bauer was a little sneaky, oh, we're going to wait until, the doctors say we could do this and do that. No. You're waiting until you can have fans go to your shows again and buy tickets because that's where all the money is being made. That's the truth. Progress Wrestling pretty much put it out there and said that. Look, we had to cancel these shows. We rescheduled them. Now we have to cancel the rescheduled shows, and we don't want to reschedule it again and then possibly postpone it again. So they're going to wait until, things get back to a norm and crowds could actually start going to shows again. And, look, I think for a lot of promotions out there, it is not going to come back to normal until 2021. The vaccine, and I don't want to get into politics here because, this show's not here for politics. But, anybody that knows anything about Trump, and I'm not saying this to compliment him right now, I'm bringing up a point. Anybody who knows anything about Trump knows that what he likes to do, and he used to do as a contractor, is when he built the ice skating rink in New York, where I live, he got it done a lot sooner and under budget. So when he says, oh, I'm going to build this by December 1st, and it gets done by August 1st, he brags. Oh, I got it done a lot faster, and we saved all this money. That's what's happening right now with the vaccine. They're saying the vaccine is going to become available in early 2021. Mark my words. And again, this is not to compliment him or criticize him, but I think everybody will agree with me on this. There ain't no way that vaccine is coming out next year. There's an election in November. That guy will release vaccines before November. Because if the vaccines come out before November, he could brag and say, you see, we didn't have to wait till 2021. Why should you lose everything to next year? I got it done now, and people worked overtime, and they did this, and they did it, blah, 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 blah. So that vaccine is going to come out sooner than later. But the thing is, with Trump, big trips, that's not happening. So just, I don't like to keep bringing things up, but it's not happening. But anyway, So Trump is going to release his vaccine before Election Day, because if the vaccine comes out and people get vaccinated and they feel safe again, they may be more inclined to vote for him. I think that's the strategy. I think whether you like it or not, I'm just telling you my opinion. The problem is, and this goes for wrestling promotions, it goes for schools, it goes for anywhere, and I think you'll all agree with me on this. Flu shot, and I brought this up before, in the United States, less than 50% of the people get flu shots. There are a lot of people out there that will refuse to give their kids flu shots because they're afraid the kids may get autism from that. How many times you heard that? So when the vaccine comes out, there's going to be a lot of people who are not getting vaccinated. I'm not taking a chance. What if there's something wrong with that vaccine? I'm not taking a risk. So there's always going to be kids in the school. There's always going to be fans in the same building as you that are not going to have this vaccine, even if it's available. So if you go to a wrestling event and you were never vaccinated and you don't want to get vaccinated, or if you're too lazy to get vaccinated, you have to always worry that someone right next to you may have done the very same thing and that person's sick and you catch it. And then you bring it home and then whatever happens, happens. So with a lot of these feds, there's going to be a lot of fans who are going to be very uncomfortable to go back to events because they're worried that other people there may still be sick. You know, when they first, forced everybody to stay home, it was to avoid the burden of the hospitals so we don't overflood the hospitals. Then it became, we have to wait until a vaccine. And that's insane because people cannot stay out of work until next year. But when you start thinking about it more and more, people are not going to feel comfortable until there's a vaccine. Because if you've never had the virus, there's always a chance you can get it. And there's always a chance you could get it, not even know you have it, and you may give it to an elderly relative of yours, even if there's a small number of deaths. Once the vaccine comes out and you get vaccinated, now you don't give a fuck if the person next to you doesn't. If I get vaccinated and I can't get the virus anymore, I don't give a shit if the person next to me has the virus. Don't cough in my face, motherfucker. Don't cough in my food. I'll fucking throw it in your face. But if I'm vaccinated, then I don't have to worry. So a lot of these promotions, they can't deal with 25% capacity. You're not going to see Progress Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, Major League Wrestling, Ring of Honor Wrestling. You're not going to see them, okay, well, we used to get 500 in attendance. So if we rent a 500-seat building, that means we can only fill it to 125. I can't afford to run a promotion with 125 people. So you get some dumb moron that'll, I get it. So if I can only survive with 600 fans, I'll rent out a 10,000-seat arena. This way, I only have to fill it to 25% capacity, which means I can fill it up to 600. Just think of that stupid logic. Okay, think about that. Some of the promotions I just mentioned need to have at least 500 fans on a regular basis to survive. So if they usually rent out a building that seats 500, 600, and now it can only be 25% capacity for several months, that means you can only fill it for about 100 people. You can't afford it. Some genius out there is going to say, hey, let's get a 10,000-seat building because then we could fill it with 2,500 fans, and hey, look, we got more fans than before. Not thinking that you're now spending money to rent a 10,000-seat building instead of a 500-seat building. So, see where I'm going with that? So some of these, and isn't it funny, Andre, seriously, isn't it funny that some people out there don't even think of common sense like that? They'll think, I'll just rent a bigger building. And then I can have more people in it, even if it is only 25%. Goofs. But speaking of Impact Wrestling, because I like to talk about Impact Wrestling as well, they're now expanding Impact on Access TV. Beginning June 2nd at 10 p.m., they're going to be airing Impact in 60. So, it's just some additional content. A lot of it is on Twitch already. Some of you are asking what's going on with yours truly with Twitch. Next week or two, I'm going to start blowing that out as well. We'll have fun. I just have to incorporate it with, the computers here. But Impact Wrestling extending their content on Access TV is a good thing. We have this week on Impact, they had 2 matches for the number 1 contenders tournament. Michael Elgin over Sami Callihan and Ace Austin over Rhino. Crazy Steve over Dave Chris, Falaba and TJP over Triple XL. Willie Mack, the X Division champion, defeated Johnny Swinger. Moose, who I'm enjoying him as the self-proclaimed TNA heavyweight champion. He beat Suicide, which, honestly, I wish they would just stop with that character. You don't have little kids buying Suicide masks. I don't even think they're selling Suicide merchandise. It's a goofy name, in itself. And to me, it's just, come on, that's just lazy shit. But I have no problem with Moose being a TNA champion. For me, it's more of like a Legends championship at this point. But, we've had people proclaim themselves as champions in the past. The most infamous one, was, and Ric Flair was the champion. You think about it, he was the real world champion. But Taz came out with the FTW heavyweight title. He proclaimed himself the FTW champion. Shane Douglas, even though he won the NWA championship, he threw it down and proclaimed himself the ECW heavyweight champion. So, Big Trips thinks that crowds will be back by the fall. Yeah, I agree 100%. The question is, how many? How many? I think, and I've kind of talked about this before, I think AEW will be the first promotion, as far as the big names, to have some fans in attendance. And what I think will happen first, and I brought this up 2 weeks ago, is they will have the family and close friends possibly, or maybe just immediate family, of people who work for AEW. Cameramen, people working in the office, production, people in the building. As long as they can test everybody for COVID, I think that's what they will do. They won't have, strangers in the building, but they will have family of employees or of the building or their company. And they'll test everybody for COVID, and they'll also take everybody's temperature. And I think that will be the beginning of it. Expect, and I have brought this up 4 or 5 weeks ago, expect other small promotions bring back crowds for outdoor shows. Expect a lot of outdoor wrestling this year. Expect a lot of block party type events. You're going to see events probably take place maybe even on beaches. Not on the level of Bash at the Beach, but the problem is, man, it's going to be so hard to enforce, because if they insist on social distancing and you can't have more than a couple of people in a group, what are you going to do? What you going to do, brother? What are you going to do when people are brawling outside the ring or walking up an entrance ramp and you have 20, 30, 50 fans all flock in one area? What are you going to do? Call out the National Guard? Back to your seat. Back to your seat. What school did you go to? Back to your seat. Back to your seat. Back to your seats. It's going to be so hard to enforce it, man. It's going to be difficult. And my God, could you imagine if security starts throwing people out and people start having some beers? Come on, man. You're going to see it. It's going to be a lot harder to enforce. But I think of the major companies, I think AEW will be the first one to have some fans, but it'll be related to those working there. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Now, wow, 2.5 hours already. Should we do AEW predictions now, or should I save it for Friday? I'll leave it up to everybody who is live, and if you could hit the like button, I would greatly appreciate it. By the way, while I poll everybody tuning in. I think I know what the answer is going to be. If you remember the arrest of Van Hammer in Florida, remember he was drinking, hit a 5-year-old, left the scene of the accident, and then he got busted. Well, he agreed to a plea deal. I think it's 1 year probation. Again, this is an example of goofs online that only, look, but they don't read. It doesn't penetrate. I saw goofs reporting this, saying that his license is suspended for a year, and he's got to have an interlock device on his car for a year. Don't be matarazzas. His license is suspended for a year. He is not allowed to drive for a year. That lock in the car does not take place until next year. He is not allowed to drive. I saw people reporting it today and saying that got 1 year probation, 1 year suspended license, and he has to put a lock in his car now, so he has to blow into it before he could drive. Morons, his fucking license is suspended. What are you talking about? His deal is 2 years extended. So, let me see. Friday. Wow, surprised a lot of people Friday. Huh. Wow, what happened to Lars Sullivan? He's probably sleeping right now. It's almost 1 o'clock in the morning. I was going to say this on Friday last week. I forgot. I think Lars Sullivan, even though he's coming back soon, if WWE brings him back, which I think they will, NXT might be a good fit, but I think Smackdown is a better fit. I think right now, as far as giants go on WWE television, they don't have a monster heel giant in SmackDown. I know a lot of us thought that Bray Wyatt thought Braun Strowman was the heel on SmackDown until he started doing the caterpillar, whatever it is, with Otis. I think we pretty much see where that went. So I think Lars in an empty arena right now on SmackDown, making some wild sounds as he beats the piss out of Braun Strowman. I'd be interested to see that. Stunner. Look, I say to everybody out there, you can ask me. I answer everything. There's a lot of people out there that can't handle questions, but I don't mind answering stuff. Have I been making any money on YouTube yet? No. Because I'm only on here. This is the 4th month. The first month, I actually paid out hundreds of dollars because people were helping me, which was fine. Money well spent. The money that came in for March, pretty much about 90% of it went to United Way COVID-19. Because what happened was, we said that all the money that came in on the Super Chats on March 27th, which was my birthday, that we were going to donate it to COVID. So when that amount was computed, and I told everybody, okay, as soon as I get the money from YouTube, I'm going to donate it. Not even realizing that YouTube takes 30%. So, I wasn't going to deduct 30% from it, so I just put the whole thing in there. I've also bought, that thing in the background, so when Super Chats come in, I'm still, trying to program it. This is the program here. It's not easy, but I'm manipulating it. You could do some things over here, you can see the weather. That's the weather right now. I don't want to put music on because I could actually get in trouble. That's the time. That is how many subscribers I have. When I had the views on one of the episodes recently, if I wanted to, I could actually add titles to it. You'll see a title pop up. Let me see if it'll do it. Well, maybe it won't. Maybe it won't. But then the point is that, trying to put it back in the shows as much as we can, But, they take 30%, but, I'm not going to lie, man. Some of the shows they do over here, Super Chats are great. They take 30% of that too. But if you take away that, a lot of the episodes here, $3, $6, $1. There was one show that got 88 cents. So, and I know some of you out there are aspiring to do YouTube stuff as well. I will tell you this. The days of doing shows like that and banking bucks are pretty much over. Patreon is crucial for all the shows that are done because of the amount of money that's involved with running the shows. The website alone, I pay well over $1,000 a year. Every month for the host of all the shows that we do for downloads and streams outside of YouTube, I pay a couple of $1,000s a year. Then you think of all the other things involved. And then plus you got to remember too, taxes. Got to pay taxes. There's a lot of patrons out there that don't pay tax. My God, I pray for those people, and I truly mean this. And if you're one of them, I give you a little piece of advice. Seriously, make sure you pay your taxes. Whatever money you make on Patreon, file your fucking taxes. Because what people don't realize is that Trump has automated everything. And I'm not in fact, this is not a good thing, but everything is automated now. So what happens is simple. Let's say you make $200 a month on Patreon for a year. You make $2,500 a year on Patreon. Fine. What happens is Patreon reports to the IRS that Joe Blow made $2,500. We paid him $2,500. The Patreon tells Social Security, gives them your Social Security number and says to IRS, we pay Joe Blow $2,500. Now what happens is when you file your taxes, IRS wants to see on your tax return an entry that says, yeah, I got paid $2,500 from Patreon. So the two offset each other. Now what happens is if you file your taxes and you don't report your Patreon income, then what will happen is within a couple of years they'll catch it. You get an automated letter in the mail that says, Patreon told us in 2020 you made $2,500. We don't see that on your tax return. And then you have to pay the tax on it. You may have to pay a penalty. You may have to pay interest. Big trips. Do I think Kurt Angle is joining AEW? Never say never, man. I don't know how much he wants to do in wrestling. It's really funny. And you know what? I have 3 super chats I definitely want to put up here in a second. But, I find it funny that WWE releases 35 people or whatever it is. And then you see these predictable articles come out. The WWE is no longer concerned with AEW signing people. I think about that for a minute. And it's almost like the goofy analogy of, hey, I'll just book a bigger building so I can have more people in it. If WWE was concerned with AEW signing any of the 35 people they released, they wouldn't have released them. Whether it's Kurt Angle or anybody else. So when you read dopey shit like that, just realize that that's not news. That's just someone, like the Owen Hart thing earlier. 10 things that we learned about Owen Hart. Then Owen Hart ate chicken. That's more revealing than, he was in pain. Seriously, if WWE was concerned about EC3 going to AEW, they wouldn't have released EC3. They were concerned about the Revival going to AEW. They wouldn't have released the Revival. Unfortunately, some people do stay under contract because WWE is concerned with them signing with the competition. AEW is not much competition right now, but all you need is some crazy-ass momentum, 1 or 2 signings and an unbelievable storyline, and then you start seeing momentum picking up. So, that's why, when WWE was silent, they gave AEW that compliment the first week, and then that was it. But you had a lot of AEW wrestlers and writers and podcasts saying, there's no competition here. You had AEW wrestlers saying, no, we're not trying to be competition. We're just trying to give an alternative. Trust me, in WWE's eyes since day one, AEW is competition. You do not want, if you're a restaurant, you do not want the tiny restaurant a couple of blocks away that may only seat 10% or 2% of what you seat. You don't even want to give them a chance to possibly gain momentum. So WWE, they want to strangle and, choke any promotion that could possibly pose any threat. You know, you see MLW, you see some of these other promotions, they're indie groups. They're indie groups that'll get an internet pay-per-view deal, that will get, you know, little YouTube stuff going. But when you look at their pay-per-view buy rates, it's in a lot of cases not even 4 digits. There's some, I don't want to name any promotions in particular, but my God, the one comment I've said about AEW's last pay-per-view that, you know, nobody fights me about, which surprises me. If AEW's last pay-per-view buy rate was good, everybody from Meltzer to everybody else would have told us what the buy rate was. We have yet to know that buy rate. I thought it was going to be around 75,000, and I thought that was even on the high end. We never even got the buy rate. So the fact that that buy rate was never made public tells you that the number wasn't good. When you see some of these other promotions, oh my God, Fight TV, and I'm not knocking Fight TV, I'm just using an example. Oh my God, Fight TV, we did the most streams that we've ever done. But they don't tell you how many streams it is. That means shit. I could say, hey everybody, hey, I lost more weight this week than I've ever lost in my lifetime. But meanwhile, I may have only lost a half a pound. You know, so when they don't tell you the actual numbers, that's cause of concern. And there's some companies out there that have these internet streaming pay-per-views. They don't even get 1,000 buys. So they're just trying to get, and I don't blame them trying to get money wherever they can right now. But, you know, remember, you know, a lot of these wrestlers, and this is something that I can't stress enough, and I know it might be boring for some of you out there, but it's just the facts. And by the way, if you're enjoying the show, hit the like button. I would appreciate it. I know I'm still talking. We'll get out of here in a few. A lot of you are telling me to save the pay-per-view predictions for Friday. You know why I'll save them for Friday? Because tonight they announced Shawn Spears versus Dustin Rhodes. We might even find out who the 9th person is going to be in that match. So let's wait till Friday and see if any other matches are announced, any other rumors come around. So Friday night on the Don Tony Show, one of the first things I will do is get into the predictions for AEW. Absolutely. There will be an AEW pay-per-view recap. A lot of you have asked for it, so I will be more than happy to do so. I know that my co-hosts are not watching the pay-per-view, so I will be doing it solo. I'll be right here on YouTube. I will start 5 minutes after AEW ends. Right now, we don't know what time it's going to end. My guess, 10:30, but, you know, we'll see. I think some of AEW is going to be pre-recorded. They would be absolutely stupid not to pre-record the Stadium Stampede. That is a type of match that if you pre-record it, you could come up with some insanely creative things that cannot be done live. You would never be able to do the Boneyard match with Undertaker AJ Styles live. You know, you realize it took them 8 hours of production to get that, you know, as beautiful as it was. So absolutely, I'll do predictions Friday. We'll get any latest stuff that comes out, and then Saturday we'll have the recap. Both will be live, by the way. Dragon Star says that Revolution did between 100 and 105,000 buys. Dragon Star, I'm not trying to mess with you, but that wasn't their exact words. That wasn't their exact words. If I remember correctly, I think the word estimated might have been in there, or there was no period at the end of that. We don't know what the buy rate was. There was other words. It's like when you see news, oh, blah, probably will happen, likely, possibly, maybe, then that means you don't know for sure. So when you just say Revolution did 103,000 pay-per-view buys, period, then that's fine. I guarantee you, if you look it up right now, I guarantee you, you will see that it wasn't just cut and dry like that. And if it was, you know what? If it was 100,000 pay-per-view buys, I don't understand why people around AEW are not bragging about that, because that is a damn good pay-per-view buy rate for that card. Absolutely. But if I remember correctly, there was a lot of other words in with that statement that was not a definitive answer. Definitive answer. Straight up. How many buys did it get? Well, it looks like it was likely, possibly, and apparently, when you start using words like that, you don't know what the fucking number is. Just my opinion. But I will see. You know what I'll do for all of you? I'll research it, and I'll check Friday. I'll let you know Friday if those numbers actually were out. So before we get out of here, I just want to acknowledge a couple of super chats over here because they were kind enough to post it, and I am kind enough to answer it. PW Spyware, yeah, looking for those Velveteen Dream warrants. Yup. Rhea Ripley had visa issues. Yup. Remember all that? All those stories? It's not easy. And I'm not saying this to brag or anything like that, but it's not easy to get all these dumb reports online and you try to sift out like what is actual news and what is guesses and what are assumptions. With the Rhea Ripley stuff, those are people that just looked at the news and looked at, as far as not being able to get back in the country. I mean, that's pretty much what it seemed like with Pac and others. They assumed that Rhea Ripley went back to her country and couldn't stay here in the United States, couldn't come back. They had no fucking clue. The Velveteen Dream stuff, yup. It was all nonsense, man. It's all a lie. And I'm telling you, man, like I said, I'm not the biggest Velveteen Dream fan, not by a long shot. But I take pride that, I stuck how I felt about it. It just didn't add up. And, I definitely, what I would love for you all to do? Besides Crusaders telling everyone to hit the like button, what I'd like for you to do is for all you fat, I'll just take a Rick Root for a second. What I'd like for you to do is on the comments on YouTube, tell me what you think about what I said about Martha Hart earlier. I think people out there expected me to bash her, and in no way, shape, or form did I do so. I actually agree with a lot of her pain, but it's just the way that it was done. It just feels like there were things very important that were left out yesterday, so it pushes one narrative, one direction. There's just a lot of things, and that's a hit job. In my opinion, that's a hit job. I've never experienced her pain. I don't know what it feels like. I would probably do a hit job also if someone hurt me that much. So I don't blame her for being this bitter. Some people never forgive others. Some people do. And like I said, when I see these death row stories or some of the forensic files and I see people forgiving people who murdered their family, like I'm saying to myself, are you nuts? You crazy? Don't forgive that motherfucker. That's evil. That's the definition of evil. So I understand not wanting to forgive someone. But, if you have to change the narrative, you have to change and hide very, very important facts, like letting Lumar off the hook, the company of the lunch that you're ripping, and that all is left out because it makes the hatred for WWF even stronger. That's a hit job, in my opinion. So I'm curious how you feel about that. You agree with me or disagree with me? Let me know. I'm very curious. So, but, my heart goes out to that family. And one thing is for certain, she brought up her kids. It comes across very, very well. She's a doctor, and, she hasn't, I don't want to compare other tragedies with widows, but that's someone who has really done a lot of good in her lifetime. Unfortunately, though, that pain that she has with WWE, when she did some of those early interviews last week, and she says that she's forgiven a lot of people, and you actually, start dissecting it, I don't know many people that she's forgiven. But I don't blame her. I just wish people would just go straight out and just, if you're going to rip someone, then, I understand it's only a 1 hour show, but there's some very important facts that were left out that totally changes a lot of views on this stuff. So Anthony Diaz, yeah, I mentioned it earlier with Brandy Rhodes. Does anybody really think there's something wrong with Brandy Rhodes' feet? I don't think so. Her feet aren't bad. You know, I think she has a little bit of a complex about it now, which is, you know, look, lighthearted jokes, one thing, some of it, you know, a little over the top. On Friday, I'll talk about what Jim Cornette had said about Dana Brooke. Trust me when I tell you, you know, I'm not a Dana Brooke fan, and you all know that already. And I have said some comments about her looks too, you know, but he was a little too vicious in my opinion. I think even what he said, you know, I said she sucks on a lemon, you know, it's like goldfish. Yeah, I think that's a lot different than saying that someone got, you know, looks like they got beat up with an axe. By the way, did you see the Buff Bagwell video that's out? The cameos? You want to see something interesting? Go check out Buff Bagwell's cameo. You know, a lot of wrestlers. I think Mick Foley just signed up there. In fact, I think Roman Reigns just signed up there too. You pay them money and they'll do a shout out for you, for whatever you want, a family, friend, whatever, relative. And somebody paid Buff Bagwell, and Buff Bagwell was talking about how, you know, this pandemic, he's about to lose it. And, you know, he was talking about how, you know, the person videotaping him, which is his girlfriend, he was talking about he was going to choke her. Like, he's so crazy right now that he, you know, might want to choke her. And she's moving the camera back and forth like she's saying no. I didn't take Buff Bagwell seriously. Some people really got triggered by that. What I found very concerning was his face. It looked like that he had a whole bunch of bruises on his face. So, I don't know. Garth, I'm not a fan of Joe Rogan. Not that I don't like him, but I don't follow his stuff. You know, him leaving YouTube to go to Spotify, that's not a bad thing. I'm on Spotify, you know. They're waiting for me to come out with a non-wrestling show. Right now, it's way too soon because of everything going on. Not going to get paid money. You know, he's getting it, but Spotify is a nice jump. Spotify wants to invest on him. Why not, man? But again, for everybody out there that's aspiring to do a podcast, go on YouTube, try to make some money off of it. Do it because you enjoy it, and take it very, very slow. Because, you know, the days of, you know, making crazy ass bucks like that are very, very difficult. That's why you see some people, without naming any names, that, you know, hustling some big time podcasts with some very famous people in wrestling, and you see them having 5-10 shows because you got to have so many different varieties just to get a little bit of income coming from it. But yeah, go check out the Buff Bagwell stuff. You'll be pretty, it'll stir up definitely some conversation. So, but anyway, yeah, I did see Matt Stryker, Lisa, that he's going to be on that dating elimination show on Fox. I talked about it about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And you know, it's nice to see Matt Stryker doing well. Matt Stryker, as Mish said earlier, even Matt Stryker needs love. I don't know how he does in a tournament, but for all of you out there that are not aware of it, you know, go Google Matt Stryker and Fox. It's a little dating show. But all right, everybody, I'm out of here. Running late, almost at the 3-hour mark. I definitely would love to cut off here at the 3-hour mark. So I'll be back Friday, 10:05 p.m. So definitely tune in. We'll have a lot of stuff to get into. And I'll catch you all on Friday. All right? Take care, everybody. And hit the like button on the way out. Ciao.
Don-O-Mite.
It was fun to channel surf. It was kind of hard to do a little pocket pool after you hitting the last channel button 50 times for 2 hours plus.
Don-O-Mite.
And his whole idea of overanalyzing, oh, he's an alcoholic and he misplaced the belt. And how could you have someone champion like that? The fuck out of here.
Wednesday night.
Don-O-Mite, you can have fun. You really are.